Good evening, everybody. I have to tell you that both the chairman and the vice chair have sent their apologies for this meeting. As the longest serving councillor, I therefore take the chair to enable councillors in attendance to elect which of their number will act as chairman for this meeting. Could I have nominations, please?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Smith, please.
Could I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Are we all happy with that?
Yes.
Yes.
No others?
Anybody else? No?
No.
No. So therefore Councillor Smith can take the chair. And I can win.
Don't think it is that.
That's my usual role of doing the job that no one else wants to do. Unpaid.
It is very well.
Thank you, sir. I don't regret taking the coat off. Okay. Right, as you will have seen, there's only 4 councillors tonight, and unless anyone is interested in those things, the quorum for a parish of our size is 3, so we are still completely legitimate. Now, apologies and reasons for absence.
Councillors Newton and Lloyd Smith both have previous engagements. Councillor Sykes is unwell, and Borough Councillor Johnny Shilton and County Councillor Wayne Chapman have other meetings to attend tonight, so send their apologies.
Thank you. Are we all happy with the 3 apologies that they have all accepted?
Yep.
Good, thank you. Is there a declaration by members of any interest between you other than in accordance with the Code of Conduct,
No.
etc.?
None from
No,
me.
good. So we don't have to consider any dispensations. A reminder to everyone, especially in the public seats, but to the councillors as well, that the meeting is being recorded on the big microphone, and technology willing, it will go on YouTube for all and sundry to listen to it. So please bear in mind that in terms of what you say, and we have to as well. At this point, I'll adjourn the council meeting, the formal meeting, for the public session. As it says on the agenda, it's for the public to express a view or ask a question on relevant matters on the agenda. Public are welcome to stay and observe the rest of the meeting, but reminded they can't take part. It's up always to the chairman's discretion as to how we manage the public meeting. I think you're probably mostly here, but not all, to talk about the pigs. It's not on the agenda, but nevertheless it's obviously a burning matter in the village, and there's no suggestion that we wouldn't want to hear views from you, and if necessary for councillors to question you about it. We have a 3-minute limit on contributions from the floor. Again, it's in my discretion to waive that as we go. So what I'd suggest, because there might be several people who want to talk, please try to restrict what you say to what is new, different, and not repetitive. So if you've told us something, you don't have to please tell us 3 times. We'll listen carefully, and that way it gives all of you the opportunity to talk and to, if necessary, going back and forth. But I don't want it to turn into an argument for you or for us. So I'll interrupt if necessary, but otherwise, so long as everyone can do their best, then hopefully everyone will have the opportunity of saying what they want to say, and we can go from there. So I don't think we know some of you, we don't know all of you. I can see, I think Maxine is sitting there in row 2, and I did hear that Brenda's daughter was coming. Who's that? That's you, okay. So I think I suggested to both of you that you might wish to come because you were kind of in the well, your mother and I and Maxine, the eye of the storm, as it were. I believe you've also come with a view from the mother of the injured child, which is very helpful. So who would like to start us off? Ray.
Please. Ray Pilcher, lifetime resident of Budds Lane. The pig owner took over the field in March 2022. First pigs arrived November 22. First litter was born June 23, fathered by a wild boar. Since then escapes September, twice, October, November. 2024 they managed to get right down to Brexit, 5 of them. June, October in Bud's house garden, video of about 8 pigs trotting across it. In my garden in October. Since then he's sold about 6, 3 dead. From August to 2025 this year, that I've recorded them out 18 times. And in the summer he ended up with a total of 54 pigs. Castrates none of the little ones, so they're all interbreeding with each other now. And if he's breeding them for meat, you don't keep a pig for 2.5 years. That's about all I can say on it.
You're saying some of them are 2.5 years old, and that's
The one that had the accident the other day is 2.5 years old.
Okay. And that is, I gather, an interbred wild boar and
a domestic
male pig,
Mhm.
female pig, obviously. But so it's half and half. But it's not the only one. I mean, and there'll also be quarters and eighths, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. But the majority of the ones that get out the first are the wild boar halves.
Okay. And the picture that you've portrayed is not only are they breeding well, which of course pigs do, I believe, but that there has been a sort of an incapacity to keep them in one way or another.
Precisely. And if you see some of the state of the pens that they're in, you'll see what they get out.
And if I understand correctly, they're all in the same space in that bit of woodland that I went round with, I think with you or with Stephen to do the photographs.
No, you
can come in.
Evening, sorry. It's my apologies, but I'm still at work. I was supposed to finish at 3, so I thought I'd come along anyway.
That's great, mate. Good to see you.
You too.
How are the pigs secured?
Pallets.
Right, what, tied together or?
Tied together, screwed together, but that's within the field of a netted fence with cut down branches and bits and pieces, pallets. And the pig just goes to it, puts its nose under it like that and goes underneath.
Right, okay.
I mean, that's the amount of times that I can prove that they were out, but you see the evidence that they're out other times as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it adds up to a dozen or dozens of escapes.
Oh, yeah.
Dozens, yeah.
Literally.
Okay, thanks very much, Ray. Who wants to say?
Is it worth bringing our local
I think
constable
so.
up to
Let's
date
start
on
at
this?
Edge, is it not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're up for me too, yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's alright. Oh,
That is very
I
kind
can't
of
see
you.
everyone.
I'm conscious you've been working all day.
That's alright, it's not a problem.
We've only just started, and most of the people here are, if not all, are for the pig incident yesterday.
Yes, I thought everyone, that's why I thought I'd best come along, because,
Indeed.
yes, hello everyone.
Let me just introduce you slightly more. Sergeant Edge is one of the supervisors of the Community Safety Unit, which is a unit of Kent Police which provides all the beat constables, including the one who's normally here, Darren Laker. But they cover all of Ashford, and the Community Safety Unit, with Sergeant Edge and another sergeant and the inspector, I think, looking after it. They then work closely with Ashford and with the other agencies. So it's a way of getting multi-agency cooperation rather than just the policeman or just Ashford, where when we've talked to Ashford before, they've never been very helpful. But the police have absolutely jumped on it since you spoke to them yesterday evening. and I'm conscious that you, as I say, have worked all day. I know PC Laker is off now, having been intent on something all day.
Have you not picked it up?
No, and it's
exciting.
very good of you to come now. So
Yeah,
thank you
sorry,
very
yeah.
much. Off you go.
Yeah, Darren does send his apologies. He, on my request, he ended up seizing 219 knives and various imitation firearms, so he's had a bit of a busy day over in Tenterden. But I thought I'd like to come speak to you, obviously, about the incidents occurred in relation to the pig in Wittersham. I'll be honest, community safety role is always very interesting to me because I always find myself talking about topics I thought I never would. I thought as a police officer. But nonetheless doesn't make it any less important, should we say. So I'll give it a bit of an interview in a nutshell from my perspective. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I know legislation around this matter, like expert knowledge. I don't. It's not something we deal with day in, day out. That's not to say, though, that we are not working with partners and not trying to resolve the situation. So I've been in contact with a Rural Task Force Sergeant today, Sergeant Walshaw, who's been working quite relentlessly around the incident today. He's been in contact with trading standards, but also, I can't remember the exact name he used, but he's basically working with the National Rural Agency team, which is, again, a department independent of the police that provides specialist support around the matter as well, to see what we can legally do to obviously resolve this situation. Now, I'll be honest, I have a few ideas of the way we can deal around it. They are limited, but ultimately I want to speak to Sergeant Warshaw first and obviously see if those are suitable. Obviously I don't want to sort of share that in the immediate time because it may be we come away and decide that's not the most suitable option. However, all I want to reassure you is we are aware of it. We're dealing, obviously we're working with Rural Task Force to support them, we're dealing with it. And obviously we'll be going to speak to the parties involved in relation to the matter. I would have liked to have joined the Rural Task Force who have been out there working today in relation to the matter. Unfortunately I haven't, so I don't have the staffing to do it as previously explained. But I will be in contact with him and looking to obviously progress it tomorrow morning when I'm back in. So obviously just wanted to reassure everyone that we are fully aware, we are looking at the legislation around it. I'll be honest, off the top of my head it is quite limited legislation. I'm not aware of any legislation beyond livestock getting into the highway whereby the scenario that I've been described where an offence would occur. Now you can look down the criminal route, but just by charging someone for an offence, we have to consider, will that resolve the situation? There are obviously civil aspects to it as well and civil liability. That's not, I can't give advice on civil liability and stuff, but I don't know if any of the family or the persons who are affected in here today. But again, that is something I'll speak to a Rural Task Force and let them know, obviously, that's something they can explore as well in relation to it. But yeah, we are working very closely and obviously seeing what we can do to resolve the situation. I'm aware it's not the first time as well. These pigs have escaped from what I've been told. So obviously it's an ongoing issue, which is obviously causing quite a detrimental effect in the local community. That is why I'm keen to resolve it. And I have also briefed Darren in relation to the matter as well. Obviously I know he's been busy today, but we have been sitting at a desk with each other for the last 2 hours, so he's fully aware of the situations for when he gets back on leave. So sorry I can't give any amazing results. Obviously the incident's quite fresh, it only occurred within the last 24 hours, but I'm hoping to get a resolution sooner rather than later.
Sergeant, can I just make a point just before you came in?
Yeah, I feel like I did miss something quite important.
Yeah, one of our local residents, Ray Pelcher, who's lived in Buzzing for many, many years, gave us some very valuable facts and figures of the incidents, and I jotted down a couple of things. And in the last 4 years since this started, basically in March 22, the number of incidents are just legion, if you excuse the phrase, many. So I think what we're faced with here, if I can just kind of bring that up to date here, is this has been going on and on and on. And I was quite shocked when I heard that some of these pigs have got as far as Brenzett. which is quite a distance.
Yeah, sort of horses.
And I don't think it's all cross country necessarily. So your highways piece, which I'm aware of. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just thought that was useful to kind of bring that.
Can I also then, because I know you won't want to stay here long. The lady who's come on behalf of the mother whose child was injured, she was asked to come particularly by the mother because of the explaining the circumstances of the incident rather than the one that was automatically assumed So do you want to talk
If you're
now?
happy to, I'd be appreciated. Or I can speak to you in private if you'd rather.
No,
What?
but she just wants me to let everybody know that it was a genuine accident and that, sorry, I'm going to read what she's put. I really don't want anything bad to happen to the pig, but this needs to be dealt with urgently. Either he learns to contain his animals properly or he shouldn't have them. If they keep getting out, more accidents and incidents are going to occur. I'll talk to you Friday.
I think that's the key, and also your mother had posted on social media earlier, having talked to your mother. Sorry, your mother had talked to the lady who posted on social media,
Yeah.
Brenda, that it was really that the pig was getting a little bit unhappy because there were a lot of people around it, and it thought it would get up and move, and as it got up, it actually caught the child standing nearest to it.
So I didn't see
You
it
didn't see it,
personally
no.
because I was in the alley, but the
Indeed.
person next to me was present
Oh,
at,
perfect.
at the time.
It was a complete accident. The girl turned around to walk away from the pig and the pig's head just came up at the same time and
Right.
just caught her leg. It was a complete accident.
Yeah. It's and this is the difficulty with it. But obviously, that there is an element that is concerning at the fact that the pigs were loose, and if they weren't loose, then maybe the situation may not have occurred. And I think that's something we have to consider around it. Now, as mentioned, the legislation is very limited around the matter. There is no tried cases, which is probably unsurprising, that I'm aware of around a pig causing significant injury to a person. However, there are orders that we can use under the Anti-Social Powers Act we can consider, which is something that I'll be looking into today, things such as like community protection warnings, whereby we can put enforcement into an individual whereby we say you must take positive action to engage with the correct agencies, put the fencing up within a certain amount of time, etc, etc, etc. But we have to be we have to make sure that we feel that it's going to be a successful route to achieve that, not just sort of jumping through hoops for the sake of jumping through hoops, so to speak. Now, that might be one route that's available to us. Destruction of the animals may be another route. That may not, that's not a policing decision for me to make. But we have no say around that, but that also could be another route that they may consider. It may be they work with trading standards and find a different alternative route around it. It's very much open at the moment, and one thing I'm trying to say is we're considering all options as to what the best option is and working with all task force, but also highlight what we've been doing today between myself and Sergeant Warshaw is highlighting obviously the local issue, so that should there be any calls in relation to further incidents, people understand the context around what's occurred and obviously the impact it's had, rather than it's just a few pigs loose in the road, or just like unfortunately we do get a fair few calls of sheep loose in the road or horse loose in the road, so people understand obviously the impact that's occurred. Whether it was ill intent, it doesn't sound like there's any ill intention from what people are saying, but obviously we can't allow it to continue.
There seems to be a sort of multi-stage thing where the animals shouldn't get out.
Yeah.
If they get out, how much of a menace are they? They're a menace obviously to themselves because of traffic, they can fight the people and all the rest of it. They could be dangerous in themselves. On this occasion, the account we've had is that it wasn't intending to be dangerous, as it were, and I've had other reports during the day of people who've seen this pig around and have approached it and it's been all right. But of course, as you said, it shouldn't be out in the first place, and if it wasn't out, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and I think that for me that's a bit false. And that's where Sergeant Warshaw and I are. That's the bit where I think we're really looking at, and we're aware of it. We're aware it's not the first time the pigs have escaped. We've looked into it, and so we are keen to resolve the situation as soon as possible. Again, apology, I can't give a more instant resolution than that, but it's not it's a more complex thing to deal with than it maybe initially sounds, if that makes sense. Because of the limited legislation around it and sort of the powers, the lead agencies that take the powers around it as well. So,
Okay. Does anyone else want to say anything while Sergeant Edge is here? Otherwise he'll probably want to head off after a long
Although
day.
it was an accident,
Yeah.
I would like somebody to see the amount of damage that just an accident happened.
So you both got
Yeah.
pictures, if you'd like to see them.
Are we talking about the images of the injury?
Yes.
Just to reassure you, I have seen the images,
Yeah.
and that is why I'm obviously so concerned about it. Yeah. All I would warn is they're quite graphic for those who may wish, I appreciate you want to share it, but they are quite graphic images, it's fair to say. If I can summarise it, we would be looking at, if that was a person that caused that level of injury, we would be looking at the highest thresholds for grievous bodily harm,
What if it had been a dog?
Yeah, and that's a really good point. A dog, that would be covered in legislation, dangerous dogs out of control. Unfortunately, pigs don't have any legislation around that, and that's the real difficulty around the Act. I think when we were looking at it, really the only offence that you may be able to look at is livestock in the highway. And then if that in itself is just a summary only offence, and then you have to weigh out what you're going to achieve from going to court from that, because we have to present that to the court then as to why it's proportionate to be in front of them, and they'll ask us what other ways have we looked to resolve it. So, and it's not always a quick process as well. So ultimately, it's keeping all options open at the moment and seeing what's best. But yeah, obviously please send the family to grass, because it's clearly a very horrific thing. As a father myself, I'd be very distraught if I was in that situation, irrespective if it was an accident or intentional. So.
Can I just ask, how is the little girl in herself?
She's been discharged today,
Right.
and she's going down. She's on her way to Cornwall at the moment to stay with her dad for a week's rest.
Yeah. Any other questions for me?
Maxine, yes please.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm in no way, shape or form defending the person that owns the pigs. I do know of him. He is a friend of my brother's. They went to school together. However, I'm not happy with a lot of the messages that I've been getting, because I am trying to help this situation. I've had a lot of vile messages from a lot of the residents in this area, with a lot of threats and things like that, with guns and things like that. I'm not happy about that. I have, however, been trying to help the guy out with some extra pallets to try and board off the area with, at the moment, just time over. I was there when the police and the trading standards turned up today. The animals will be slaughtered, so that should please everyone.
Absolutely not.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to say what I had been spoken to about today. I was lucky enough to be there when the officer and the training stands were there. I don't know, I've been here since 2022 as well, and this is the first incident that I'm aware of since I've lived here, so I don't actually know anything about it. I didn't even know he lived here, or there was even a pigsty around. I didn't even know. So this is the first incident I'm aware of. I was out with the police today as well, trying to catch some of the pigs. We were trying to respond to a lot of the messages that were coming in, saying that the pigs were in the park and things like that. Unfortunately, the animals just weren't there. They were very quick, so it's hard to obviously catch them. But yeah, in regards to it, the animals will be destroyed. There is no doubt about it.
Can I ask, why does he not sell them?
He's tried. The thing with him, he started off with the animals just as pets, like the first
The
few.
first four, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, when they bred, he's got a massive heart. He didn't actually breed to slaughter. He just generally had them as pets to begin with. And unfortunately, he is himself with these animals. There's 47 pigs in there, and he is by himself. And it just got too out of hand for him. He's got so much of a big heart, he doesn't want to let the animals go or have them slaughtered.
Would that not be better than slaughtering them?
He tried the retreat. He tried to rehome, and they said no. He asked in October, he's got proof of this, and yet they've rehomed recent pigs, so I don't know why.
Is it because they're crossbred though?
No, because the retreat take any animals, so I'm not sure on that. But he has tried to rehome. That's all I know on the situation. I don't know him well enough to know the situation. I'm just trying to help because obviously I found out someone got injured. I'm just trying to, you know, it'd be nice if a lot of other people would be helping at the same time. He's not getting a lot of that. He's getting a lot more abuse than anything. Then, you know, people just try. We're supposed to be a community being together, and we're not getting much of that. I've done it out of the willingness of my kindness, so why can't anybody else? Rather than being judgmental.
And has the piling on you reduced now, or is that still a problem?
It's still an issue at the moment. I have spoken to the police about it, and
Okay.
it will be reported, obviously, if there are any more. I'm still willing to help no matter what. It's a situation that obviously no one can control clearly, even the owner. I'm doing whatever I can to help.
I think
Perhaps if the post was taken down off next door, that would then stop people from piling in.
There is that, but I mean, it does help if people let us know where the animals are, so if we can try and contain them, then that's
But I
fine.
think now people would report that, but they don't
Yeah.
need to keep reporting on that
The police have
post.
said it needs to go through them now. They need to, in theory, yeah, it does need to come off of next door and just go through the police. It's now, obviously, it is now a police matter. But like I said, trading standards have been involved as well. He will be issued tomorrow.
I think trading standards have been involved before.
Yeah, quite a substantial number of it.
Yeah.
Ongoing case.
Yeah, because of the situation with the child, obviously it's
Escalated.
past everything now.
It's
It's past everyone.
Yeah, can I just thank you for that, because obviously, as you probably can tell from your update and mine, Sergeant Warshaw has updated me around the destruction.
I was
Yeah,
just
and-
happened to be there when they was in the
Yeah.
conversation. I did ask, should I be leaving? And they was like, well, you're here, you might as well just... And obviously on the owner's consent, I was allowed to stay as well.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate you obviously giving that update. Thank you. Obviously, I'll speak to Sergeant Warshaw about that. And I think, for me, I know that was always an option on the table around this situation, not that it's us that can enforce that option. However, a couple of prevalent points. It is not acceptable, obviously, to put abuse out on social media platforms. And I know the situation obviously caused quite a significant impact on the local community. And I completely understand the emotions are high around the matter. However, I think, again, the context is very important. Is yes, okay, the pigs have escaped. It's not ideal. It's not, you know, it's the first time, but also it's the acts from the persons but behind the pigs. The intention, should we say, maybe was not there to cause that harm. You know, and I think people need to obviously recall the reality of that, and they are now looking to take the right steps to obviously try and resolve the situation. Obviously, if they've made that decision to destroy the livestock around it. I'm not saying everything will be, you know, happy days from day here going forwards, but it's really important that everyone's, you know, sees it from one people's perspective and support one another in the local community around it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I'm Andrew Croft, I live in Bards Lane.
Right.
Do you know how or why Mr Gordon came to be keeping pigs?
I have no idea on that. Like I said, I haven't heard from him for like many years. This is the first time I've heard from him since my brother knew him.
Do we all know about the history of that field?
No. All I know is that
How it's
living
a
there,
disputed field and that it's been split into strips illegally. There was a section served on the field to prevent it being fenced. So the pigs shouldn't be there in the first place, irrespective of whether it's a good place to keep pigs. So that has to be questioned. Why is he there? Why has he chosen to keep his pigs there? Why didn't he stop when they started to get out of control? It was very evident that he was causing problems. He's been causing problems for 3-4 years now. And he could have, if he was a community-minded person, stopped and worked with us to come to a reasonable arrangement, either rehoming them, whatever. We now have a problem where we have 47 pigs. In a year's time, that could be 100. Now, I don't know how many people want to have 100 pigs just roaming around the place. Now, it was an accident today. My wife has been charged by a pig while out walking. It may have been inadvertent, maybe it was startled, whatever, but if that pig had caught her, that wound would have been the same in my granddaughter has been out being carried, and a number of pigs were stampeded down a field. So we do want to be community oriented, and I think nobody from Bud's Lane, I hope, would be the person who piled in on this. All of my neighbours, I think I know them well enough to say they wouldn't be the people who did that. But if we're talking about community, we cannot have a situation where the countryside is unsafe and lives are literally threatened. And Mr. Godwin, he shouldn't be keeping pigs in such a fashion whereby they pose a threat to people and themselves. They're now finished. And I'm afraid it's his fault.
I agree with that, and
It's his
I mean
fault.
no disrespect to your friend either, or whatever the situation, but everyone knew, the village knew that there was wild animals out. These are wild animals, they're not puppies,
Yeah, they
they're not
shouldn't have
kids,
been
they're
approached. They
rabbits. The
shouldn't have
children should not have
No,
been.
that was unfortunate.
Yeah, so, I mean no disrespect at all,
Yes, we
but
understand
the children should not have been,
No,
they
they
knew
shouldn't
the
have been
animals there, they should not have approached it.
No.
But again, like you said, the animals shouldn't have been out, I get that. I am not in support of what he does or anything like that. I am just trying to help the situation, get the animals under control
Yeah.
for everyone's safety.
Really, could I just make a point? They shouldn't have been out, but they shouldn't have been in Bud's Lane in the first place.
As I'm saying, I have nothing to do with this, just because I know who
No, I'm
he
just
is.
making a point for the record.
Okay,
Can I just
because
ask
I know
why
who he is.
I think someone mentioned 47 pigs or something like that.
That's what I was
Is the
told,
decision now they're all destroyed?
yeah. An order is
As
coming
far as
up,
you know?
as far as I know. I can't, he can appeal it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure.
Some authority must be ordering
Probably
the
training
destruction of
standards.
pigs. Okay. So if they all get destroyed, there are no more pigs. As long as he doesn't
Start
start
again.
up again. It's interesting your point, Andrew, about the ownership, because that has come up before, what have you. And of course, if you put pallet, no disrespect to pallet building fence experts, but that's not a permanent fencing. That wouldn't be, no farmer would ever put that up as a proper stock fence. So maybe that's one way around the fact that if you're not putting up a permanent fence on an area that legally you can't, but at the end of the day, it's the pigs that are causing the problem. So if they all go away, I guess it's kind of the end of the problem.
Well, the message I did get yesterday was he was apparently getting electric fencing, but then I'd been told previously with events that happened before, as again I say, I didn't know anything about this, that there were events before where he would say, I'm going to get electric fencing, so this is obviously something that is not being corrected.
It's not been done.
And because of the amount of that, I think that's why they have decided to.
Electric fence isn't going to stop a 100 kilo
Yeah,
barboard cross going
It's
through.
a bit late now, I think, because like I said, an order is going out tomorrow.
Okay.
But
All right.
as to what that order contains, I don't know. So, like I said, even if an order is out, I'm sure he has that right to not hand over the animals if he chooses to. But then, obviously, legal action will take place after that.
People who know better. Can I just ask you a question, and then I'll go to Greg, who had his hand up earlier, and then I'll come to Martin. Can I just clarify with you, when you talk about the field that was split into strips, which I know about, and there was a hut built once, and Ashford got it taken down again, is the wooded part, which I've been into 2-3 years ago when the pigs were not 47, and I took all the photographs and sent them to Ashford to deal with, and they never did. Is that part of the same stripping?
I believe so.
That is it.
Yeah,
It is.
4 acre piece.
Yeah,
It's still
that woodland
part
has
of
all
that
grown
same
up
lot.
over the
Yeah,
last
not
20
the-
years. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks.
It's all part of the same ground.
Greg, you wanted to speak on it?
Yeah, first of all, it was me that put the post up on next door saying that the pig was back. I thought the village should know because it's a big animal and we now know what the outcome is. And I'd been meeting this pig several times on my walks with my dog, so I thought I would find out where it had come from and so on. So I eventually met the owner, and I also saw the wood you've just described. And I said to the owner, you know, if I can help, let me know. And he said the best you can do is to inform me if you see the pig anywhere. So I have been doing so over the last week. and it's popped up in various places, as we all know. It seems to like Coronation Field.
Very good acorns.
Yes, it probably is. Anyway, when I spoke to him yesterday, he was pretty gloomy about the whole thing. He was working hard to find it. It's obviously difficult to find a pig in many acres of fields and woodland. So the only thing I can think of is that if any of us do see it, it helps to end this if we make sure he gets to know where it is. I mean, twice today he was one side of a field and I said it's the other side, you know, so it happens and then the pig disappears again into the brush. I think it's possible it is actually spending time in the little, I don't know what you call it, coppice beside the old water tower next to Coronation Field, because it's very thick brush, almost impossible to get into unless you're a pig, and it's close to where it's loitering. So if anybody does see it in the neighbourhood, I think it'd be really good if we can make sure we inform him as soon as possible. Otherwise this will go on for weeks.
I think what's more upsetting is the fact that it's 47 innocent lives that are being slaughtered for the case of one person.
It's a terrible outcome for the people.
It's not fair on them.
And it's a terrible outcome for the poor little
Oh
girl.
yeah, of course, yeah, but
Very sorry.
it's something none of us can
But
even
we don't want
control.
anything to happen to the pigs, as long as you can keep them locked up.
But he's allowed this to happen.
He's allowed this to
Busy
happen.
on that now.
Okay,
It's
so
a
Martin.
complete accident, though, it really was.
Just to add something that Ray was saying, one of the haunts of a number of pigs going back 2.5 years is Robin's Wood, which is opposite us, where at the moment Astrid and George are there with 2 young children, 4 and 6 I think, and the pig loves that. And this morning Astrid found a pig. This isn't the one that the child was attacked by, this is another one, a fresh one, huge as well, sitting outside her back door. And the reason the pigs go in there, just as Greg was saying, is because that garden, Hostage to Fortune in a way, is full of oaks, and they love the acorns. Now, what I wanted to move on to just very quickly is that every time this happens, and bear in mind this has been happening for the last 2.5 years, I think, is that I try to ring Mr. Goddard, and he is enormously difficult over that period as an average, enormously difficult to get hold of. And so if you report a pig is out, or there are a number of pigs out, which I have done, he won't appear for another 3 or 4 days. Now that's deeply frustrating.
Sure.
Well, it doesn't live in the village.
No, it doesn't.
No,
So
it
it's,
Even the
there's always a
biggest
time
ones
lapse
vanishes.
between any report one might make directly to the
But it doesn't return calls on it.
It doesn't
So-
respond to me
No,
either,
no.
so I'm trying to help in the
Yeah.
situation. I
Okay,
don't know why.
one at a time.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Ginger's way.
Okay.
I think also we need to remember that any action or order that is served isn't the basis of one incident. They have been openly investigating for 2.5 years, and reports have been made to them every time pigs have been out of the premises. They have advised, they have tried to offer help. Their main approach is to be, this is what you need to do, how can we help you? I've spoken to Brendan before and he said, you know, they're advising me on what I need to do, but none of that has happened in 2.5 years. So yeah, nobody wants any animals to be euthanised. We can use the word slaughter as much as we like, it's not quite the same sort of context. But yes, they will be killed or put down, but that isn't based off one incident on one day. That is a 2.5 year investigation of them coming out almost every 8 weeks, sometimes asking and telling Brendan that they're coming out and they meet him there, other times doing spot inspections. So I think again we need to remember it's not one incident that has led to potentially these animals having to be put down. It is a very long process to have got to that point.
Fair point. Okay.
George Swan, Bud's farm, cottages there. When I left school, I worked on a pig farm in Northiam, and they had pigs in sties, and we also had 30 pigs running in a wood with a boar, not a wild boar, because they are a different animal. There's no doubt about it. If a wild boar gets here, he's going to be looking for every cell in the area, because that's just how they work. There was no electric fence, there was plenty of room, the fences were good stock fences, dug in, the pigs were fed regularly, you could walk in the pen with a bag of nuts and feed them, they had shelter and they had straw and they were happy. We know what's happening down there, there's not enough room, the pigs are not happy, they want to get out. And that's not the way to keep pigs.
So they're stir crazy. Right, okay. Can I close this section now? Is everybody happy? Or not happy, but Kate?
Well, can I just ask, I think Maxine made a very good point. Somebody could be collating the findings, the pig sightings now, and I'm not quite sure whether that's what the police are doing or whether there's anybody else who needs to do it. And I don't think it should be on Maxine or Greg to do that collation in case they find themselves very wrongly abused about trying to help.
Sure.
We're all in Buds Lane, we're reporting sightings to trading standards.
And does that get you anywhere, Martin?
Well, up to today, no.
Well,
that's why.
To be fair, it does. Terry is.
Terry's
office, and he's provided the phone number, and he does confirm every piece of information you give him. He does come back and say.
It was actually quite thorough
So
today.
if people are seeing the pig, he's very noticeable with those big splotches on him. The one.
Oh, there's two that look alike apparently.
Oh, okay.
One's very friendly.
I've only seen
and then
one.
one's not.
Okay.
Apparently.
All right. So there may be several pigs sighted.
The one that heard the
Yeah,
girl was the
we've
friendly
got to
one.
feed it back to
It
one
came up
place.
to us.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
Trading
Because
standards is
they're
the
slightly
only authority
domestic
that
animals.
Right.
So shall we?
Okay, can I suggest
Shall we
then
broadcast
that if someone has got the
telephone
number of trading standards who are being helpful, if that's put on the bottom of the next door thread, the phone number or the email and the name of whoever it is you need to talk to, then everyone else who's following this, and obviously say this is the one to report sightings to, then that will actually pull you all together and, as Kate says, not keep Maxine and Greg
Yeah, because
trying to do
literally
their
our
best,
names are
especially if
tagged in
people are being
every
abusive.
single one. It's quite
I
frustrating.
think I'll just ask one more question while Mr.
Sure.
Policeman's there. If one got on my land and I thought it, the dog was getting chased or something or in danger, and I got out my legally registered shotgun and shot it on my land, how would you feel then?
How would I personally feel? Or would you like me to give me
No, will
the legal one?
Maybe the official.
Will I be given a yellow card or will I be sent straight home?
Technically, a pig's property.
Yeah.
By law, obviously, if you were to then cause damage, should we say, to that property,
Although it's
then
on
you could be
your land.
Yeah, but I'm talking very black and white.
Yeah.
In the legislation around the law, if you're saying to me if you shot a pig that was on your land, that pig didn't belong to you, worst case scenario, that could be investigated as criminal damage. I'm not saying it would be. I'm just talking. Black and
When you
white
attack a burglar, he comes in your house.
I can't give you my personal opinion whether I agree around what I'm saying to you, but I'm giving you what I'm trying to say is, if you're asking me whether there could be legal repercussions around it, yes, but there's always legal repercussions about anything we do. I could arrest somebody and I could find myself in a civil lawsuit or find myself in front of a court for falsely imprisoning someone or assaulting someone. But yeah, I have the powers to arrest someone. So it's not me saying what you're doing is wrong, but it would more than likely get investigated and looked at if that's what you're asking me.
Okay.
And when we talk about the conversation around the shooting of pigs, ordinarily it's not something that the police will do. We will not go around and shoot livestock because we're not subject experts for dealing with animals, and also, truth be told, how would I not know that pig from that pig to that pig and who owns that pig and from where? We certainly don't want to go around shooting people, we certainly definitely not go around shooting people. We don't want to go around shooting, animals for the sake of shooting animals. I'm sure that obviously we live in a real community, we're all very, all animal people probably in this room. I'm certainly very passionate about animals. Ultimately, yes, there may be justification of times where we do shoot wild and out of control animals, but that decision and risk assessment is down to that authorised firearms licence holder, that officer. I can't tell him irrespective of my rank above him, to shoot something with someone. I'm not an expert in that matter. It's not for me to tell someone how to shoot something.
Just to say, I did add on my post earlier that the officer did mention in regards to guns, because obviously there was threats earlier that people were going around with guns last night apparently. I don't know. But because I had to mention that to the officer did state that obviously if anyone does obviously do anything like that, they will be dealt with. So obviously even if it is on your land, obviously you've got to prove that pig is causing your area of distress. Yeah. And obviously you're going to end up getting done for it. So I did put that on my post in regards to the gunning and stuff. So yeah, I'll be rather...
There's another authority that's probably worth just, you might know them, AFA, which is the Animal Plant Health Authority. You can get their number on their website and what have you. And that's because it's a grey area. If the animal's loose on an A road or a B road, then you guys will get involved in that. But if it's sort of roaming from garden to garden and what have you, typically the police don't get involved. But AFA...
They were involved and they just handed it to
Well,
trade
yeah,
standards.
there's AFA, Animal Plant Health Authority.
DEFRA came out and referred to trade standards.
I think what it goes back to what I originally said. It's not an easy answer. It is complex in the matter of there's multiple partners involved. Where in my professional opinion, but other professional partners need to take more of a lead in relation to it. But we certainly have a role to play in around supporting and around it. You know, because of the legislative framework we can only work around. You know, as much as I'm sure everyone would agree with me, you know, you certainly don't want police officers to sort of trying to fit things into boxes that don't fit legally, because that's not policing, you know, it's not the right thing to do. It's about actually what is within the framework of the legislation. And if it doesn't fit within our legislation, does it fit within, you know, other organisations' legislations about to support us? You know, and you know, hopefully that's testament where I said, you know, Sergeant Marshall's been in contact training stands today, we've been out there, and obviously this lady's kindly obviously validated that, you know, we are already working and trying to resolve this situation within the local community. All I would ask is, and I'm sure, I appreciate it's a long-standing situation, and obviously there's a lot of frustrations here because obviously clearly hasn't been dealt with the best way it could have been dealt with in the past, and that's not accountable to anyone in this room. But ultimately, as a community, it's also really important to work collectively, and as well as us as partners, to improve the situation, prevent it from going again, you know, and that is supporting the young adults affected, supporting the families affected, and realistically, you know, as a community, and as a professional service as well, what can we do to support that individual, obviously, who owns the pigs, to prevent this occurring again in the future. I'm not an expert knowledge on land and livestock, my granddad was a farmer, but you know, I can't tell you the best way to secure a pig, but I'm sure other people in this room maybe have that expert knowledge.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course you can.
At what point does this sort of behaviour become antisocial behaviour?
Really good question.
Because the community is very unhappy about it. It's threatened by it, endangered by it, and frightened by it.
Yeah.
The waste down there, God knows what sort of mess that's causing down there. And yet it's done deliberately in the face of advice and offers of help to stop it happening. It almost seems deliberate. At what point do we say this qualifies as antisocial behaviour and should be dealt with accordingly?
So antisocial behaviour is obviously a very wide terminology to cover a lot of different things, should we say. Yeah. For me, obviously, I mean, the official one's got 3 strands of antisocial behaviour. Personal antisocial behaviour, which is targeted towards individuals. Nuisance antisocial behaviour, you could bring, you know, nuisance motorcycles, or, you know, and then environmental antisocial behaviour, and different agencies sort of take the lead on different parts of it, and this is why, you know, as yourself mentioned, we have regular meetings with partners to obviously make sure that the right people take the lead in what we do to support it. Now, I mentioned earlier that something like community protection warning, that falls under the antisocial behaviour legislation. That is probably the framework, but if enforcement is possible, that might be the framework you look at that. It's not about punitive as well, about just, you know, saying you're bad, yeah. You stop doing this, you stop doing that, you stop doing that. That works in some situations, but also it's about positive actions, about, you know, you need to do this, you need to engage positive agency services, and that is a bit of legislation that supports us in relation to antisocial behaviour. And I know obviously the clerk has receives your email address for Ashford, as well as I assume you've got the Ashford Borough Council one as well. They're very similar, just different way rounds, which is very confusing. But just to reassure you all, I also have daily meetings with Ashford Borough Council with their community safety unit, and I also have a weekly meeting as well. So every Wednesday, which will be tomorrow, talking about sort of larger cases, and certainly this will be one I'll look to raise tomorrow to see, obviously, whether there's anything they can do there to support on the matter.
Can I suggest, I was talking to Ashford often in 2023 with their enforcement area, trying to get action from them on this exact area, but it was nothing like as profound as it is now, nor had there been the incident. I used to talk to the head of enforcement and her staff, and ultimately they really just weren't interested. Now, of course, it has gone up the measure a long way today, but as it's just been raised, the points about environmental, antisocial behaviour, waste, which is Ashford's problem. I mean, it may or may not be a planning issue. That was raised, you know, whether they're allowed to be using it, whether they're allowed to be fencing it. They weren't interested in any of this. But all of a sudden, it's hit the headlines, you know, not as much as Tenterden today, but it's hit the headlines. Do you have the opportunity of putting it on their agenda so they've actually got to think about it afresh? Because to us, they could just say, nah, not interested. But if
they definitely say that to me as well, don't worry.
It's on the CSU agenda, you see, then they've got to do something about it to get a tick in the box, haven't they? To get it knocked off.
Yes, yeah, I have not got, if you're asking me can I raise it, I have not got a problem with raising it. I'll be honest, given the context of what I've heard in the background, I feel it's only right to raise it. Now that's not me saying what Ashford Borough Council have done in the past is right or wrong, I don't know, I don't have the answer to that. But it's only fair, obviously,
just getting it back on their agenda.
But what I would strongly appreciate is if still a contact can be made back to Ashford Borough Council, just to obviously provide some substance, obviously, of the ongoing issues in relation to it. Because it's all very well me saying there's an issue, and obviously they will. I like people that listen to me, but you know, it's good to have a context around it as well. And there's a lot of context that obviously keeps being raised. But I'm certainly not away with, and I would not be able to explain. So I'll sort of be in the room hoping that they will be able to explain more to me than I can to them. So
if you raise it tomorrow, then we can also piggyback on that. Clark to say, okay, this was raised with you in 23. Now there's been a serious incident.
There's a long history down
etc.
there, with lots of communication with Ashford Borough Council and engagement with officers. They have enforced on that ground. It's just that because of cutbacks and things in recent years, they obviously haven't had the wherewithal or the energy to do so. But I had very close dealings with Ashford Borough Council to get the Section 4 suspension served.
Yeah.
So there will be lots of records of antisocial behaviour, issues with contravening agricultural regulations, etc., that will be on file. So if you do raise it, you can hark back to the fact that this has been an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
When the hut got built, they went to the High Court and got an injunction. So,
exactly.
You know,
so they can act if they want to.
That was pushed by the late Councillor Mick Burgess. He got that organised.
Certainly I'm more than happy, obviously, to discuss it with you tomorrow. I'm not going to sit here and promise outcomes and results of things. It's not fair for me to do that. But of course, I'll raise it with
If you need context, there's plenty.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll also go away and have a look at it. I can imagine it's probably, you know, Ashford Borough Council is a big beast in itself, isn't it? A bit like Kent Police, you know. You've got myself here as part of my community safety unit role. My beat officers cover multiple wards, but then, you know, you've got the rural task force that ordinarily will take lead in these matters, yet I'm the one sitting here standing in front of you today from a community aspect. So it's about just working together and obviously just getting the right outcome in relation to it.
Yes, hello.
I just want to bring up, so the reason why I said about, although it was an accidental injury, as you've also stated, there's 47, did you say?
I think.
And you stated they keep getting out as well. I'd like to just add to this that the injury that the girl sustained, it was 2 millimetres away from the main artery, and this was an accidental thing. Now, not all of these pigs are going to be
gentle.
Yeah. And as you said, they hide in the bushes, people walk their dogs. So this is now a cause of, are we allowed to allow our kids to go out? Is it safe to walk our dogs?
That could have been 6 inches higher, and that would have been
2 millimetres away from the main artery.
if there wouldn't
Unfortunately, a boar's weapons are those two tusks, and even if they're attacking another animal, they go for the legs. And unfortunately, got in the way.
I'm very concerned because obviously yesterday it looked like a nice pig, but there are lots of people who'd like to be vigilantes in this village, and if it was better weather, we might have some very strange behaviour from some of the catapulters and possibly people with shotguns. And if they wound a pig, that pig will be a good deal more dangerous than Spotty.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't want to cut. This has been such a peaceful and patient gathering to say what the problem is, and clearly the problem has been going on a long time, and Bards Lane has, as a community, has tried to deal with it. But we do not want to make it incendiary and make crazy people go crazy and make pigs crazy.
Yes. The answer to that is to keep the pigs in.
Of course
Okay,
it is. Great.
can I suggest that we've probably gone around it all twice now. So thank you very much for all those contributions. Thank you very much indeed, Sarvadesh, for using your time to come and see us and help, and for keeping in touch with our clerk during the day when Dan Laker was otherwise engaged. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Just whilst I'm here, if anyone got any other questions and issues in the village, I appreciate obviously pigs aren't the only things that are around the village. So if you have got a question, I can quickly answer it. Hopefully. Just the pigs.
Just the pigs at the moment.
You come every month? Every month.
Okay.
No, so I try to get round to mine.
Right, can I ask people to... So, Alf, you want to raise a different issue with us in the public session?
Yeah, it's just the drains down the street. I think.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sergeant.
I think Yvonne, it was at the beginning of last year. I'll wait till he's everybody's.
Terrible.
Thanks everyone for coming who is departing. Everyone's entitled to stay if they want, or you're fine to go if you want.
My driver's going, so I'll follow that one.
Thanks very much for listening. Thank you. It was way over the 30 minutes, so thanks for that.
Yeah, I think, Yvonne, if I remember rightly, it was the beginning of last year when we had the highways drainage people down, and about the drains along the street, they were all blocked up. And as a result of that, they suggested we had the ditch dug out so the water would then flow along the ditch, on the understanding that once we'd done that, they would then come out and clear all the drains out. Now, we've done our part, that ditch has been cleared out. They've not touched a single drain along here, and as a consequence, the water runs down the street now, and when it gets to the entrance to the cemetery, runs along the path and through the cemetery. Now, the cemetery now is flooded. The plots are all full of water. I've put sandbags down to divert the water through, along the path and out down the bottom. I've never seen that cemetery so wet. So I would like a bit of pressure put onto the drainage people. I've reported it, all these drains, from the one up by the memorial right the way down to the one at the bottom as a block, and I think I've got one reply back saying they would have a look at a drain.
These are the highway gullies.
Highway gullies.
So it's really the lines are all blocked, I suppose.
Well, it's all blocked off because they've never been touched.
Sure.
They've not kept their part of the bargain.
Yeah.
We did that. We got the contractor down there with a bucket, and we spent the day down there, dragged it all out. Brilliant. Water was flowing fine, lovely. But they haven't done their part of the bargain.
Where is the ditch that you did clear?
Just from the end of the street, on the right hand side, going towards Peas Marsh.
Down to Lee House.
That's right.
Yeah. Right, okay. Another one. Okay.
So I'd just like a bit of pressure on the drainage people
get their act together and fulfil what they said they were going to do.
Who was the guy you met with?
One of the drainage team. I mean, I've got his email address, but
Is he still a post?
You want to get on to the councillor, of course, Wayne, and mention that you had the meeting last year and that we've done all the work and they do now need to get out. And it's fairly easy for him. I mean, it's an easy one to say, I want it done, let me know when. Whether they do or not, it's a different question, but he can. He's not asking for anything complicated, he's asking for something very straightforward.
Is it worth also bringing in the consequences and the impact? And by the reason, what I heard you say was that the cemetery is getting flooded. So I'm actually not trying to be. I'm not trying to be jovial about this, but if the consequences of all the graves getting flooded, sooner or later, you'll start seeing bones going down.
Well, no, the tablets will be falling over.
Yes, exactly, and I think that's one of the things to put into. Otherwise, we're just one of 350 parishes trying to get our drains fixed.
When I reported it, I told them the consequences of what's happening down the cemetery. Now, I got a generic reply back after several days saying it wasn't part of their plan on doing anything.
Well, I think we need to revisit that from how we approach it as a council, to say there are consequences.
That water's still running down there.
Yeah.
I've been down there today. That's still running down the track.
Well, the reply that you got, if Yvonne has got it, she can include that in her email to Councillor Chapman to say this is what we got, and plainly we don't actually want the cemetery.
The point is they make these promises, we fill our part, and they just blanked it.
No,
we've had instances in the past where we reported drains and it's been flagged up, that's been done. When we've gone, they haven't even touched it. It's still tarmac over the top and weeds.
I know it's hopeless.
So would it be, I'm just trying to explore thoughts, but would it be reasonable to say we're going to close the cemetery temporarily, and Councillor
I don't think
Wayne...
that's going
No,
to happen.
I'm just thinking now, Kent County Councillor, we say, could you please advise us of the alternative arrangements you're going to make for burials?
Now, they are taught, people have spoken about putting drainage through the cemetery.
Yes.
We shouldn't be going to that expense putting drainage in there because of what the county council's not doing.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is to find a way of just gingering up the immediacy of the need.
I think it takes a little bit more than the ginger.
Well,
that's a rocket.
I think the world of ballistics is something I'm not going to go back into.
All right, Yvonne will do what she can there, as long as she's got your reply, and she'll have a go at Wayne and at the officer, or at the officer copied to Wayne maybe. But I mean, that's entirely right. It's not only
it's a single day
it's
when
their
you've got
duty
to
to
put
do it,
sandbags
and
through the
especially if they
cemetery
said
to
that.
divert the water.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Is there anything else in the public session? No. Okay. In that case, I'll close the public session and go back to the council again, the council meeting. So to confirm the minutes of last time, does anybody have any issues with them?
No.
No.
Okay, that's that. And that. Right, matters arising then. Sports club lease update. We know that the CIO was approved. We're waiting developments, as was reported last time, on the lease, which can follow the fact that there's a CIO to grant the lease to. I don't have anything since then. My main source of information has been in hospital for some weeks now, so I don't have anything else. Okay. Land fronting St John the Baptist Church and Brick Path.
Once again, you're waiting for
Councillor
Chapman, and when he sent his apologies, I went back and said thank you very much. However, we're still waiting.
Okay. Caretaker scheme update. It did strike me today, Yvonne, you said last time we've got to be dealing with the paperwork for Alf. We've got to get on
Yes,
with that.
yeah, that's in the process of it.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
and I chased Ashford for...
Right. Trees in the churchyard. Well, obviously with our deputy chairman, vice chairman away, we don't have his report. Do you know anything more?
Yes.
Good. Have they been done?
No.
No. Right.
No, I was waiting for the diocese to agree.
Did you well?
And he rang me at 5 o'clock. Simon, it's a chap from the diocese rang me up and said he would like to see Ashford's paperwork from Ashford approving it. So I said, right, I can do that straight away. He said, so I've sent that. Stupid. So I'm now hoping he will be able to come back tomorrow.
It is a funny thing that the diocese, when asked, couldn't do it because it's not their job and sent it to us. And ever since we've been trying to do it, they're holding it up. Pretty much.
Oh, not exactly,
Not only
no,
that, but
no,
they're
it wasn't.
playing their part.
No, they've just sort of the information that they want, and then the chap's been away, and then...
But whether the Ashfords approved it, it's nothing to do with them. We've got to satisfy both of them. They don't have to each ask the other one what they're doing. And anyway, okay, you'll carry on as best you can. Water leak in the churchyard. We don't know Alan's latest, but I did see that earlier on he said that the Ecclesiastical Insurance were going to pay for fixing a leak but not replacing the pipe.
However, there is an engineer coming on the 13th of February.
Okay, well, it's 3 days' time. Good. No planning applications. The Lloyd's bank account. We've got a few thousand in there, having moved most of it to Unity Trust. And the question is, of course, here whether it's worth keeping a charge you a bit each month. There is the question of the documents that they keep for you. You and I have talked in the past about Metro. I looked them up just now, and they're about £25, £30 a month to keep a safety deposit box, which we don't want to do, plainly. And it's slightly different. It's not keeping a document in the safe, it's a safety deposit box in the branch, but it's expensive. And you have to have a Metro bank account as well. So the difficulty is what you're going to do with the documents if they're not in Lloyd's, assuming you haven't lost them yet.
So
the other point was the ability for cheque management that you mentioned.
yes, I can't pay in via the post office
Anymore. They've chopped that.
And that would then mean Lloyd's in Ashford.
It means wherever I go, whichever one I choose, I have to go to somewhere.
Okay.
But I've had the letter asking us to send a news authority by the 30th of January. Do it online, but as soon as I tried to do it online, because we haven't used...
30th of January?
Yes.
This
year? Their letter is dated January,
yes,
with no number
came,
on it, probably the 31st.
Yeah, I was going to say it came a week beforehand, so I tried to straight away. It gives you the online bit as soon as you come in, but because we had online, if you remember, we agreed to that, but because I didn't use it, I wasn't able to get into it again. And now because we haven't used it, I couldn't get into it again, so I got so far, did all the instructions, and then it said, no, can't do it. So I can't write checks on it, I can't, all the things that we've got already ongoing isn't a problem, like the direct debit we have, that's not a problem. But won't be able to do anything else.
So it's a case of... your signatures, you can't even remove the money?
No.
No.
So the only way I can do it is to go into the branch, probably Ashford, because that's where we were with Tenterden, and I think Tenterden went to Ashford. I have prepared a letter giving authority with 2 people on the mandate already, giving me permission, because obviously I can't do anything, because I'm not a signatory.
But you said this you couldn't do online. Can you do it not online?
Doesn't give you any option.
So is it fair to say that My question to you is what would you recommend? And without answering my own question, it seems that am I right to say you've got to go into Ashford and sort it?
What I'd suggest is just to go and find out.
Well, you can have that signed up ready
Yes.
and take it with you.
Yes, because they won't talk to me. I mean, when you go online,
No answer. Okay.
you know, they want my date of birth. Well, that doesn't
make sense.
They don't have my date of
1894.
birth.
Do you need our support to go and do that?
I need a signature. Yes, well, I'm going to see.
Two signatures on the sheet.
Yeah.
We do need to keep the account though, don't we? Because actually that's the cheapest option for keeping the documents safe.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's going to be.
Yes.
I do need to ask them about that because we used to get charged and now we don't get charged. They used to be £7.50.
Right.
And it's
It probably means they've lost them.
It's very difficult to open your accounts now, isn't it?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You'll get whoever, two of us, to sign that, and then you'll go off to Ashford and find out what's the next frustrating thing. Okay. ABC correspondence and ABC Welfare Centre directory.
Yes, I was sent that for an update, which I passed on to asked the village hall for the information, which Paul very kindly gave me.
Okay.
So I was able to fill that in, and they've come back and said thank you very much. Although they did ask whether we had an emergency, were we able to hold a key? Did we hold a key? Were we a key holder? I said for here, obviously I am, but not for the main hall. So they've got that information.
Okay.
Now.
I take it that if you've got a key to get in here, you can't get into the main hall unless someone else has unlocked the middle door.
Oh, I can get in, yes, but I can't open the
front door.
Yes.
Okay, only this door. Okay.
And I need it to be available 24 hours a day,
right,
which I'm not being in the village.
No, I understand.
Doesn't help.
Okay, so you're dealing with that as best you can. Unity
Yes,
Trust
yeah.
account reduction in interest rates, we simply note. Okay. ABC local government review, have your say on the way councils in Kent and Medway are organised. There is a, I don't know what I've done it now. There is a consultation out. Good.
This is it.
And Yvonne provided us with a link through to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I know on the LGR later. The actual consultation, I did, when I was typing this out for myself, I'm sure I found that it was March or something.
26.
March 26.
11:59 on the 26th.
Yes, I don't know where that's gone. Okay, but fair enough. I did see it and I thought I typed it, but I can't find it.
We've also had the advice from Kent County Council as to the 4 options and which option we would fit into where and who
Well, I'll
with
come
and
to that.
what have you. Yeah,
There-
no, I'm just saying
yeah.
that we've all had that.
Kent is asking
if it ever
for-
happens.
Well, indeed. It depends if the government lasts long enough.
Yeah.
Yes. Indeed. So that's gone out to everybody. That part of it, looked at it. Okay. We seem to be sort of going round in strange orders, you know, because Kent and Medway and the districts, including Ashford, have all put in their 2 pence as to what they would like.
Mm-hmm.
We're being asked to consult on it by the government. It is massively complicated. I mean, both the bottom line answers, let alone the data that was provided to support them. You know, it's a bit like picking with a pin, you know. And ultimately, the government, having done the consultation, will do what they want to anyway. The question really is, and we've got March as well, whether, and John will be back by then, whether we want to actually respond to the consultation. And I can't say that I have studied it yet, because I haven't.
There's one, I don't know if it's appropriate here or when you want to talk about the LGR. The one thing that seems to be missing is that when you've got 4 options, what I was looking for, this is the cost of option 1, and this is the benefit. This is the cost of option 2, and that's all missing.
That was early on in the things that the individual councils were looking at.
But
We got that, yes.
You know,
but of course it is. I mean, it comes from
but if you're asking people to give a feedback on 4 different options, one of the things is...
Well, I'll tell you which one is said to be cheapest by the people who are recommending it, which is the Kent one. So
Yeah,
the only
do nothing.
council in Kent is... No, well,
status quo.
abolish all the others.
Yeah.
Kent will put their council tax up to cover the things that the others did, and it'll be the cheapest, is their view.
Yeah.
But obviously, we get very little out of Kent now. Witness drainage. You know, it's not essential.
Well, the recent announcement of the billions that come from central government to all the local authorities to support their SEND budget deficits is the biggest piece of news, because that's the thing that's crippled Kent.
Well, and adult social care.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Bye, Maxine. Thank you for coming.
Sorry, I've got children to get home to.
Of course. You're right. The chances of Kent going through is nil, because the government, well, I mean, nothing's ever nil, but the government said they wanted them to be about 500,000 people each. Kent is and Medway is 1.9 million.
Oh.
500,000, did I say million? 500,000 each.
Then is there another local authority that have already gone ahead that are remained as one?
Somerset, for instance, but Somerset's got a population of 500 and something thousand.
Right, so it's smaller.
Well, that's what the government wanted, 500,000. Cornwall, I can't remember how many it is. Cornwall is all one.
Well, you wouldn't get
These are earlier
anything
ones.
else.
These are earlier ones. These were done. I mean, they were doing them under the major government years ago. Then they were doing some. I think it went a bit off the boil. Then they've been doing some in recent years. I was quite surprised. I used to know them all in the old days when I was more concerned with local council. I mean, when I was doing the national contracts. I was quite surprised when this came up, saying, "Oh, you know, there's this lot in the southeast from Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex, Kent, East, West Sussex, Surrey, Hampshire. They were a big block that had not been done." And then when I looked at it, most of the others had been, without me realising that, you know, they'd been gradually filled in. Like Northampton went bust, so that was done. Cheshire was done. I knew a few years ago, and they split it into 2. I remember when Cornwall was done. But there are some others that are still, apart from us in the south, but not that many. The old days of the district councils everywhere are getting quite thin. Now, the government said 500,000. If you had 3, they'd all be rather bigger. If you had 4, they'd be a little bit smaller, on average. The problem then is that if, for argument's sake, you say, well, 1.9 million divided by 4 is only slightly less than 500,000. But the trouble is, one will be about 380 and one will be 500, you know. And then you get into the situation of where you draw the lines. Do you stick with the old boundaries, which are of no value anymore? Or do you actually move people between so that you don't put all of Ashford in with Ashford, or all of...
Well, that's one of the one of the options, because you're going to get an imbalance of areas that are poor, those that are richer, bigger houses with bigger council tax, and I mean, at the end of the day, the cost of it all is no government project has ever gone down from the original budget.
That's one of the things.
HS2, good example.
That's one of the things.
It's never going to happen in the lifetime of this government.
It's one of the things they were considering, which was how much does it cost to do it, because it always does, and how many years does it take to pay back, and of course, does it ever pay back? I'll come to that later, because this was really about the consultation.
Can I just give an example of the questions that we're being asked? To what extent do you agree or disagree that the proposal suggests councils that are based on sensible geographies and economic areas? To what extent do you agree or disagree that the proposed councils will be able to deliver the outcomes they describe in the proposal? To what extent do you agree?
Based on experience, research.
Well, it's all subjective.
Yeah, to what extent do you agree or disagree that the proposed councils are the right size to be efficient, improve capacity and withstand financial shocks? To what extent do you agree or disagree that this proposal will put local government in the area as a whole on a firmer footing, particularly given that some councils in the area are in receipt of exceptional financial support.
Was the witness led?
To what extent do you agree or disagree that the proposed councils will deliver high quality, sustainable public services?
Just bear in mind that in Surrey, all the councils in Surrey, Surrey County Council and the districts in Surrey all agreed that they wanted 3 councils, I think I'm right in saying. So the government said, well, we'll have 2 then. You know, there was nobody on the government side, but they said, well, 2 it is then. Let me press on. So that we've got next month. Whether we're going to respond, I think so. Yeah. John will be back next month. I can't summon up any enthusiasm for the idea that whether we did or didn't submit that consultation would make the slightest difference to what is done to us. NPPF consultation, that's a little bit different. NPPF, National Planning Policy Framework, which was brought out during the early 2010s under the Cameron government. Then it was revised somewhere around the 2020 time, I think during COVID time, when we put a lot of work into it at Calc, which I did sit on. The idea of it is it lays down ground rules for planning policies across England. It's a sort of supervening policy that every council has, and then they add their own on the end. And it does apply. It's not law, but it is a material consideration. They've come out now with a new scheme out for consultation closing on the 10th of March. Just to cheer you up, the proposals are introduced in 123 pages. The draft that they're asking us to give views on is 127 pages. There are 225 questions over 21 pages. And then they have a simple guide in big letters for silly people who can't read long sentences. And that's 110 pages. I'm not quite sure how they figure that. Now, happily, colleagues in Calc who know more about planning have set up their usual committee, which I sat on last time. I said I'm not going to do this time. And they are looking at the consultation response. And I've asked them, to keep me in the email loop.
So what do we
may
what
want
the parish council?
Well, we may want to piggyback on what Calc does, because then at least we're adding another council.
Well, at the end of the day, we're representing the people of Wittersham.
Indeed.
So what do we say on their behalf? Because my experience for the last, 10, 12, 15 years or whatever, has been that MPPF only rears its head when someone wants to oppose social housing.
Well, that's where planning is.
But MPPF, it always keeps coming up. It was against MPPF. You're not taking due consideration of it. All we're trying to do is support the affordable housing being built in this village, which will happen one day.
It will have a different. The simple thing that I glanced through, there's one little section in the simple thing, and it tells you the 12 main changes. But it also tells you, but this is only the 12 main changes and not all the rest of it. And there are dozens of them, all about everything from, no doubt great-crested newts to whatever.
Should we focus on the 12 simple questions?
Well, the first one is easy to answer for us. It says that we want to build more round railway stations. That's one of the 12. They want to, now here is one that is actually interesting for us, and you've heard me banging on about it before. They want to concentrate housing into smaller areas and not spread, as they put it, spread them out. What have we just had? A site for 30 houses. Oh, can we just put 20 on it then? Ridiculous. Absolutely bonkers. Now they have picked up on that. But there you go.
Okay.
So at the minute, I think what we're doing is waiting to see what the Calc say, would be my suggestion. I mean, by all means, if you just Google government consultation on NPPF, you will get to the main page with those documents, and you'll see how many pages they all are. But I'm not proposing that I or anyone else actually plows through them. I just think it's a different planet, frankly. I mean, they've probably spent 18 months preparing this, if not it started before this government.
No, I think your suggestion is a good one. We wait to see what Calc comes up with.
Yeah, indeed.
After all, we do pay them.
We do.
We can stay for our sub.
So then, working party reports, the caretaker?
Apart from saying that with all the water that's all the water that's down in the cemetery, that I was able to get some bags. I did ask, but I didn't get anywhere with that from Darren, the other Darren. So he's put it down because so that we can channel the water down through into one of the tracks where the vehicles go down instead of it just playing everywhere. We had a funeral on Monday, and I did warn the funeral director that it was very wet down there, and he said he had asked or suggested that because it was a private funeral, there wouldn't be that many people. Did suggest they wore wellies.
Sure. That's all of them. Okay, the finance statements. One thing that struck me there, I probably have just never noticed before, that we've got 2 fuel bills. I thought they were monthly, are they fortnightly? And I've just never really thought about it.
Depends when they come in as to when I pay for them.
Oh, I see, okay.
So you'll find in the previous month there weren't any.
Oh, okay, well, that's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was only monthly, but...
Yeah.
Does anyone have any queries with any of it other than that?
No.
And I see we're getting down on quite a low balance now on the caretaker.
But
Are we going to finish soon?
I've had money in from
you've got another one
ACC.
coming in, okay.
ACC.
Okay, that's better then.
Yeah, it will show this month.
You've had the ABC money down.
Oh yes, yes.
Okay, that will help us a bit then. Right, that's caretaker, that's the finance planning now.
No, I was checking up on the one down at Tribairn.
Oh yeah.
Because that's outstanding still, and it seemed a bit odd. And I understand that new people there.
Where's this?
Tribairn.
I
past
don't know
the street,
it's definitely got sold or...
Yeah, well that's...
But I don't know whether...
The gate's been opened occasionally.
There
The
are
doors are.
new people there.
Mm.
But this was to get an extension on having to do the biodiversity stuff then. It just seemed a bit odd that it's dragged on so long.
Right, open spaces. Yvonne did suggest that because we knew we were going to have the big discussion in the open session, the open public session on the pigs, we've got open spaces here if we want to actually record anything in our minutes. And I think the obvious thing to do is just to reflect in the minutes that we had a very large and constructive discussion on the problem with the pigs from many members of the public who attended, plus Sergeant Edge from the police CSU Ashford, and everyone is conscious of the next steps that are in hand, or something along those lines. Does that suit?
I think it's worth putting in something that this has been going on for several years and years, that Ashford have been involved, the enforcement officers have been advised, and they have committed to us that they will enforce. That's still on their to-do list.
No, they never did. They always said they weren't going to
Well, I think it's worthwhile just...
We pushed them.
Yeah.
So I think that we can be noting that at the same time.
And if
we've been on it with Ashford
and
since
if this happens that we heard tonight, who knows, that these 47 pigs are no longer around, what's the intention of Mr. Goddard? Is he going to restock it with a couple of boars, or I mean, the people who live down there, this has been a real problem for them. And I didn't raise it because it's the point that the sergeant made about scaremongering and what have you. But I suddenly thought, how many of these pigs want to escape? It sounds like most of them at any stage. So what happens if they decide to take a route through the fence at the end of the school playing field when you've got all those kids in there and suddenly you've got a load of boars and half boars or what have you dashing through there. They do get spooked, pigs, and then they herd, you know, and then you've got a load of kids from the playground and, you know, you've got your next disaster moving on with it. I mean, the fact is that if there are no pigs or they're properly fenced in, like farmers around here have proper stock fences and Tim does, as you know, it's the problem's got to go away. It's got to go away. Otherwise, there'll be a tragedy, I think.
An offshoot of the point you've just made, the scenario you've just raised, is that of the 47 pigs, that when they go down to collect the pigs, there are 25. And the other 22 are wandering around the village, here, there and everywhere, for some weeks or months. Oh, that was one. Oh, I just saw that one. Oh, that could go on for a while.
I mean, it's not unusual for us to come across boars in College Wood.
Yes.
And that's where it's all the intermingling around there. But you know, moving a big porker is a challenge. I know for the past. Anyhow.
Oh well, other people are dealing with. But anyway, I think we need something along those lines, Yvonne. POWs, or special subjects. Very muddy. Very muddy and muddy. Highways. Potholer and have you noticed that the guy who very dutifully marked all the potholes along from the Meadows or thereabouts, Coomlands to Swan Street, and then nothing was done about any of them, he's gone along and marked them all again.
Yeah.
Oh, really? They're all remarked and numbered. Well, not all, of course, but a number of them are. So
the signs went up towards Rolvin Lane, but they were blank.
They were.
And that was all supposed to be closed.
I thought that's because they were turned around.
Well, but they were never turned around to advise, and the diversion was never put in place. The diversion signs were never, you know.
Well, I went through there and it wasn't closed anyway.
Well, that's exactly it. So at the moment,
we don't know what's
if Councillor Warren was here,
So
Chapman even,
sorry, was there no answer on why the roads hasn't been done twice when it should have been shut?
But originally, when this first came out, I was notified of a lot of roads that would have this resurfacing work done between November and March, I think it was, something like that. And ours was within that, without any special date. And I didn't actually get, when it was put, the notices suddenly appeared, I thought, oh, I didn't actually ever receive a specific one for it. So I'm presuming that they've just delayed it, and it will, when they've got it, because of all the weather, it will come out. But they did leave themselves sort of 6 months within to do this work.
All right, cemetery and church.
Sorry, it's just we've got the Highways Improvement Plan meeting.
Oh yes, that's
on the 2nd of March. Which will be before our next meeting, obviously, so we're going to have that. So we've obviously got the things that are still researched.
Yeah.
I was going to, I wonder whether it was worth asking. I did read somewhere, I must find it again. These mirrors that they put in because of visibility. We've got Acton Lane. Obviously, Alfred's forever putting it, redoing it, and the wind and whatever knocks it out again. Whether highways have got anything that they can, you know, a permanent.
They don't even approve of those mirrors. They accept them on suffer.
I read something about them doing one because it was safe highway, you know, if it's considered a. But I suppose we've got to prove there's going to be accidents first before that.
Maybe we need a rubber pole, so it just sort of blows in the wind.
I did actually think of putting it in the hedge on a shorter pole, on a highway pole. But the problem is, because it's in the verge, they won't accept it because you can't dig holes. They'll need to be done by highways, and then they charge you an arm and a leg for doing it.
And then the hedge cutters come along.
Yeah, I mean they've cut the hedge, they haven't touched that this year, which is quite good.
All right, okay. Cemetery and churchyard?
Well, apart from, I believe I forwarded to everybody. Did you all get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
planning.
Yes, the KCC ecology
Yeah.
reports.
Oh,
It is on.
I glanced at that earlier today,
Yeah.
and after half an hour when my blood pressure reduced again,
Yeah.
I thought, well, we ain't doing any of that.
But it'll be one of the conditions. I think we'll get it, but they will then say you have to do this, this, and this.
Yeah, my
And
feeling
the cost
was
is going to be another
my feeling was
cost.
that as a special offer towards the ecology and the environment of the new cemetery, what we will do in future is we will desist from spraying it every month or two with pesticide, herbicide and fungicide, which is what happened when the apples were there. And as a result, the wildlife will bloom. If they don't like that, then we'll just carry on with the spraying. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. These people have not got 2 brain cells.
It's a really long.
It is so
But
much
mowing
better.
it twice, that made me
Oh,
laugh.
oh yes, we've got to
Yeah.
cut it down to 1 inch so
Yeah,
that the things
yes,
can
and
get out of the
then,
way.
A week later, take
With
it
a
down.
hand, with a
Yeah.
hand mower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the orchard, how much grass was there? Crazy.
It all points to getting our own parish council sheep,
Yeah.
putting them in it, like Appledore. Don't mention the pigs. That was really, they will just be, I mean, they'll destroy the whole of the cemetery.
Right. And dig the graves up. Okay, the calc meeting, I'm not sure, the minutes haven't come out yet, have they, or did they?
Yes, I think that's okay. Yeah, circulating to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll.
Buyout, the only things I was going to raise, to pull out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I haven't escaped from the first one. Sorry, I just wanted to update. I was just speaking to a lady who was representing the owner of the pigs. She's just had contact from the owner, and apparently he's been told he's got to put the pigs down. So I don't know whether that's just something you want to record. I can't confirm that officially, but that's just the update I've just.
Won't he have an appeal period?
I assume he will be entitled to appeal, and he may choose to appeal. And like I said, I've not had this verified to me. Once I can speak to somebody who can verify it to me, then I'll obviously email the clerk and an update, but just give yourselves an update around that. So
And where does the instruction to do that come from? Is that trading standards?
I suspect trading standards, but I don't know the answer if I'm honest.
Okay,
But yeah,
right.
I do suspect it's trading standards. So, which, yeah,
Right.
unfortunate, but if that solves the situation, then,
Sure.
you know, it's
We were just
understandable.
talking about
Only
actually.
the ones that are there though.
Yes. What
The
about all
ones
those?
that are loose at the moment.
Yeah.
Or become loose.
Yeah, I mean, I can only assume it would include all, again, this is assumptions and hypothetical, I can only assume it would include all the animals, whether they're found or not found. But that's the complexities of it, isn't it?
Sure.
So, yeah, all I would encourage is if people see the pig and they've got concern for their safety and well-being, obviously, you know, if you think your life's immediately at risk, you're best placed to make that decision, not somebody else. You can call 999, obviously you can explain the context of why, you know, someone may feel at risk of it, but also contact train stands and let them know where that pig is. You know, ultimately down to you know, the force incident manager whether they deploy firearms and exterminate the pig or not. So
You'll be in the paper.
Yeah.
being a paper, I don't know.
Do you remember the cow?
I don't know. You're very lucky your beat officer's not PC Picton because he tased an llama many years ago over in Chollock. So maybe we'll have to bring him in and bring him up here for a bit.
The cow wasn't here, it was up in Yorkshire, I think, but it was a sort of national scandal after the police came along and shot a cow.
Very, very, very rarely do police, you know, and it's usually to put animals out of misery. You know, like if they've been hit by a car and then.
Yeah, that's another thing, yeah.
Yeah, that is usually the extent of our involvement in these sort of scenarios.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
It's the swans normally, isn't it?
The swans, yeah.
Yeah.
True. But yeah, I tried to update you before I left anyway.
That's
So.
very kind.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, all I wanted to pick out on the calc thing, you've seen the minutes, was the police asking for people to fill in the survey that's come out on My Community Voice. I'm doing this really for the microphone. My Community Voice, if people haven't signed up for My Community Voice, which gives them lots of information from the police, then they can go on the Kent Police website and do it. There will be this consultation there, which they can fill in for what they think their priorities are, which are for this area, for this beat of PC Laker, which just covers Tenterden and a few villages. The previous priorities were poaching, catapults and fly tipping for this area. The East Kent Design Code is being consulted on in an effort to improve the approach to place making. That's something that planners talk to each other about and get excited over. And Kent Acre is now registered by the Charity Commission, but it's got no money, and we're expecting to be asked for money through a crowdfunding platform. Now, what I don't know, Yvonne, is we've got it down here as reports from noting. Is that enough of an agenda item for us to confirm that we will expect to support the crowdfunding? No. Okay, we'll have to
put it on the agenda.
I thought it was going on the agenda this year, and then I didn't notice that it hadn't. Okay, fair enough. Next time then. That's the CALP meeting then. And the other thing, now this is a much bigger issue, just to skim through, the LGR CALP workshop on understanding area committees. That's actually understanding neighbourhood area committees is the technical term that they're using. This is local government reorganisation that we talked about a little bit earlier tonight. I attended an online CALP session on this on the 4th of February and heard Ewan Jones, I don't know, he's the CEO of Somerset ALC, the same as CALP. And that's why I knew the size of Somerset. Somerset Council is the name of their unitary. It had already lost from old sort of post office Somerset, the old, what do they call it, the old county line when it was like, you know, the Lord Lieutenant and all that stuff. It had already been shorn of North and North East Somerset, which I think really meant Bristolish and Bath-ish, but I'm not just sure. So the rest of it has been turned into a signal unitary, but it was done under previous arrangements in 2023. They'd been talking about it for years, when in the days when they had much more discussion and consultation and, you know, whatever, rather than our sort of shotgun wedding or shotgun divorce, whatever you want to call it. It's got a population of 572,000. It used to have 278 parishes. Quite interesting that. You see, we've got 300 parishes, 210, but we've got 1.9 million. They only had 570,000. It had one city, although it's only a very small city, Wells, and it had 4 large towns, all of about 25 to 50,000. Bear in mind, Tenterden is only 10,000. It's something like 6,000 bandees, so 10 or 12,000, you know. These are big towns. Frome and, don't remember the others. And then it's got smaller parishes and that. It used to have 4 district councils. There had been 5, but 2 merged. There used to be 270 councillors between the county and the districts. It's now 110. And it's going to be reduced to 85 once the local government boundary commission have redone all the not wards, divisions, whatever they want to call them. I don't know what they are, whether they're unitary. So you're really culling councillors as well as councils. Councillors would then be representing about 6,700 people on average. At the minute, Ashford is about 3,000. Kent is about 20,000. So, I mean, they've got much more coverage than Kent does, but compared to Ashford, you know, rather less. Now, this is where we come to the big thing. Beneath Somerset Council, they set up local community networks, which is their name for these neighbourhood area committees. I haven't really got my mind around this properly yet. When I first read this, I thought, well, what's this got to do with us? You know, this is a different world. It seems as though the government is mandating something around this kind of idea, although it's up to each council how they do it. It's not laid down in detail. Somerset has got 18 of these, so each one has about 30,000 people. if we were put in one of 30,000 people for argument's sake, without having looked at it carefully, I reckon that would put us in with, well, no, I'll come to that later, otherwise I'll muddle myself up. Anyway, we've got 18 of these, 30,000 people each, and they're these committees. Now, they are not like the Calc Area Committee that I go to, or John does, you know, at Ashford. Apart from it being rather bigger than 30,000, that is parish councils talking to themselves about things of interest to them.
Is this is in Somerset?
This is Somerset because it's the model that Calc got the guy to come and tell us what happened, because it was done 3 years ago.
So who elects people onto the neighbourhood committees? Because it sounds like they're just replacing borough councils.
No.
It sounds like it.
I'll come to it. But it, just as the, you know, Sergeant Edge and his community safety unit was multi-agency, these are as well. So what I'm saying is it's not like Calc, where it's just parish councils having a chat between themselves and sometimes getting someone from Ashford to come and talk to them. This is an extra layer of governance, but with a very small g. So you've got a unitary with 500,000, which of course is big. I mean, our unitary could be Ashford, plus Folkestone and Hythe, plus Dover, plus Canterbury, plus Thanet. If there's only 3, that's the one we'll be in. You can imagine the council, I mean, Kent's bad enough. You can imagine the council trying to run all of that. So then you say, okay, now we need these neighbourhood area committees, and in Somerset, with their 570, which is a similar size to what one of the unitaries within Kent is likely to be, maybe a bit bigger, maybe a bit smaller, it's a way of still generating some sort of local knowledge and interest.
Do they still have parish councils?
Yes,
so
at this stage, no one
this
has
neighbourhood
changed.
committee is sort of, that's my point, sort of replacing the borough councils, given the sizes you approach.
Well, yeah, but Ashford's got probably 120,000
Yeah, I know, but if you
people.
look across the whole of Kent, and my question is, who elects the
It
neighbourhood
honestly,
committee?
honestly, it doesn't. But
Okay.
you'll
But
see.
it seems to me that,
No,
I mean...
It really doesn't. It is a way, it is a talking shop though, you could argue that. It hasn't got power and it hasn't got money, but it has got the opportunity of deciding what it would like. So, the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, which is presently going through the Lords, actually demands that arrangements are made within these new unitaries for some level of neighbourhood governance, but it doesn't say what it has to be. It's up to the local areas to decide. So whatever unitary we finish up in, they can decide what they would like, subject perhaps to government approval, I don't know. But there is flexibility. Now, those local community networks, which is the Somerset line name, or neighbourhood whatever areas, they're there to support their local areas. They have staff support from the unitary council, a bit of staff support. They, in Somerset's case, don't mean to say it would happen here, but it's a model. In Somerset's case, there are 9 linked officers employed by the Somerset, plus 2 managers, and they staff the 18 neighbourhood boards, so they've got 1 each, you know, plus a couple of managers overseeing it. Costs Somerset about $1 million a year to do that, which, as the guy said, in their budget is nothing, it's roundings. What the local community network says they want, having been discussing it, still has to be approved by the unitary council, because the local community network is not a legal entity. It is run as if it was, and I don't know about this, an area board, not a committee. This is the law, once again, driving the result, unfortunately, rather than the other way about. If it was a committee of the unitary council, then only the unitary councillors could vote. So it wastes time. It is pointless.
So it'd also be a liability.
Indeed. But if it's a board, then everyone can have a vote. I'll come to who it is in a minute. But they haven't got the actual budget and the power because they're not a legal entity. So Unitary Council has to agree it, and then often the action that's needed afterwards might come from the Unitary Council, but it might also come from the parishes, because the parishes have got legal status and we've got money.
And who will the parishes report to then?
They report to their councils, but we would be...
Well, they will have gone.
No, parishes are
No,
still
the
here.
parish councils, at the moment there's a structure, parish council, for us, our parish council, Ashford Borough Council,
Oh, but we don't
KCC.
report to Ashford.
I know, but we do in a way of planning decisions, and tonight we've heard, you know, I mean, under these new schemes, who's going to look after the pig issue? I mean, the thing about all of this is that how you get, is this jobs for the boys, who's going to be elected? Nobody knows anything on this. And my worry is that what seems to be also emerging is how the heck do we get parish councillors to stand in the future when their legal liabilities and their job responsibilities are going to go through the roof?
I don't think our legal liabilities have changed.
Well, if you've got, in the future, if you've got a much expanded requirement of parish councillors, if you take Wittersham, each time there's an election, we're not exactly overwhelmed with busloads of volunteers.
I share that.
And how are you going to get people who are still working?
No, I share that view, Paul. I think it's difficult. I'll come to it. Let me move on though. These committees are there. These local community networks. They have got a group of people there. Each parish or town who attends them will have one vote. Doesn't matter who they are, how big they are, they get one vote. But bear in mind, they're only making recommendations at the end of the day. But as well as that, I mean, I tried to sketch this out from all my notes, and I've not tidied it up very much. There's one vote per parish, so the towns don't dominate them. They just have one vote as well. All unitary council members within the same order are members, so there's usually about 6 of them. You would then have one from the police, one from the health, one from the fire and rescue, one from education. You'd have some from voluntary, community, faith and social enterprises, business and trade groups. So it's a whole, collection of all and sundry. Now, the actual local community network is the umbrella, as I perceive it from what I heard, but actually an awful lot of the work on how are we going to do this, how are we going to do that, what do we want of this, or do we mean this or this, that is done in working groups. So they'll have to set themselves up working groups to do things. I didn't write it down here, but there's a whole list of some of the topics they look at, and those working groups are often unitary council staff and parish clerks and the other things. You see, there's hours coming, you realise. And they're usually in the daytime. The LCNs are at night because that's when councillors are available. And of course, the council officers don't want to work in the evenings if they don't have to. And I realise this is all very, very vague and flaky. Now, no formal decision-making power. They make recommendations to the Unitary Council. Most work done between meetings by working groups. Planning is completely excluded, because otherwise all they do is argue about planning. And of course, we've already got an established legal position between parishes and the planning authority, which would become the unitary. The average precept for local councils across Somerset, local councils, our level, increased by about 75% when the whole system changed, but that really meant it went from £45 average to 79. Wittersham's, by the way, 69 for Band D. The largest went up more than double, the smallest by about 50%. I told you about the £1 million from the unitary. The more effective local council, local community networks can attract about 30 people to one of their meetings. I think they meet every 6 weeks or 8 weeks. 20 or so of those 30 would probably come from the 30 parishes. So out of the 30 parishes, maybe 20 of them would send a representative, and there'd be 10 other people there. This is what we were being told, as far as the guy could tell us. Now, where do we go from there? I mean, Paul is raising some very good questions. I find it difficult to get my mind around all of this, but plainly, as Paul has already said, ye gods, in effect, this is a potentially big change for how things work. Or they don't work at all. You know, if the thing exists but no one goes, no one cares, everyone bumbles along in the same old way, then we get nothing out of it.
Can I just ask a question? So you've got this guy who's been effectively guiding this and making it happen, the chief executive who came to speak to you.
Of the Calc equivalent.
Yeah.
He wasn't Somerset, he was the equivalent of Calc.
In Somerset?
Yeah.
So what did he say was the top 3 benefits of doing all this, if any?
I don't know what he said there. By the way, incidentally, the recording of what he said, although we often couldn't hear him very well, is all online now. I think and by the way, they've only been going for probably really about a year or something on this. I think the sense they have, and he was already saying some are working much better than others. Out of the 18, some of them, and by the way, they're not all the same size. He said 30,000, but actually there are differences geographically and.
But has it improved decision making, for example, the speed of decision making?
I don't know that it will have anything to do with decision making. I think the aim is a governance thing. The aim is to give an opportunity, if you can make it work, for the people in the area, or rather the representatives of the people in the area, to play a bigger part than we can at the minute in deciding what we want. At the minute, we can, firstly, we don't get actually to doing a lot of things. I mean, the caretaker scheme is very unusual for us. You know, there's no equivalent to that.
We pioneered it.
Indeed. And it gives us a lot more oomph, you know, power, operational involvement in that. But the other things, not much. Where if we wanted to do something like a better focus on community care for older people or whatever, we have no real way of doing it, whereas between the rest of the cluster, it would be possible, in theory, to say, okay, working with the unitary, working with the health and the whatever, can we come up with a system in which we will then, between us all, and bear in mind 30,000 from here, that's what I was going to say earlier, would take us from Newenden, I should think, up fairly close to the boundaries of Ashford, if we think within the Ashford border. But because we may be in a unitary with goodness knows who, it may be here and over to, could be over. Well, Tunbridge Wells is never coming in with us. Yes,
no, one of the options is split.
Tunbridge doesn't go in with us.
At the end of the day, we are in the East Kent University Hospitals Trust.
No, indeed.
So if you're trying to follow the NHS, have to play a part. And it's,
but equally, you see, we may be going over, well, I suppose it's the same hospitals. We may be saying, well, okay, it's from Newenden and Tenterden and here, and we go over to Romney.
So who's going to make the decision ultimately, whether it's 1 unitary, 3 unitary, 4 unitary? Well, we don't know who that'll be.
No, we don't.
At this stage.
At the minute, it happens to be.
So what is it what I'm trying to get my head around is what can we do and what should we be doing to represent the people that live in this area to the best that we can as a parish council? That for me personally, that's the nub of it, because my worry on a lot of these things is that there's a limited resource called time and people and money, and if it's all being spent on this, the things that we try and do, like get affordable housing and so on, we're whistling in the desert.
No, but you are right.
You know,
we always have been. I mean, we can do limited things around the village. You know, we can decide whether we want to have a litter pick, and we can get Yvonne to complain about the street lights or whatever. You know, it's very little. This is giving us an opportunity. Like all these things, if you want to play in a bigger thing, you've got to combine with other people because we're only tiny. So it's throwing open the opportunity. If it could be made to work, I don't know if it would. It may just lead it to squabbles. But it may produce an opportunity to actually say, what do we really want to happen? Because at the minute, we can tell Ashford all the things we want, and they can say, no. I mean, And the latest thing that Ashford have done, by the way, that really gets up my nose, because the chief executive used to agree with me it would be completely improper, is they've now decided that CALC can't meet in the civic centre anymore every other month without coughing up £100.
Well, they can meet here.
Yeah.
We could offer this place and raise some money for the village hall.
Indeed, but CALC hasn't got any money.
Well,
they're going to go to whichever one's free.
Hang on, they have some money because we have to pay CALC.
No, well, yes,
Indeed,
but not enough to be hiring village halls.
I think it comes round to the fact that as representatives of the people around here, you know, we either don't bother or ignore it or what have you, or we're serious about the fact that we're being asked to provide some form of input, and I don't think we can go back and say, oh, we'll just support anything or all four of the options, or what's the preferred option. I mean, we need, otherwise we're just in danger, like maybe a lot of parishes, sitting on the fence, and the whole exercise just becomes top down driven.
But there are two parts.
So what do we do?
There's two parts to this. One is the consultation that you just touched on again, whether we want a 3 or a 4 or whatever. That's actually going to be decided in local government ministry, which is now Steve East, who used to be leader of Lambeth.
But what do we do to influence that?
Well, very little, I suspect. I don't think they're going to give a monkeys as to what we think. That's on the consultation of the numbers. The second part is, whatever number the minister chooses of unitaries, and I don't think it'll be 1, it'll be 3 or 4. And by the way, Ashford supported the one which was first championed by Medway. We're on the same page as them. There's about 3 or 4 of us, but Medway, and Medway is the only unitary at the minute, and it's the only Labour council in Kent. So I do not rule out Medway getting their way, in which case it's what Ashford thought was best for us.
Which is what?
It is 4 with a split in the boundaries, so it would be...
There's a lot of splitting and reallocating.
Yes, it's the one that does split. Well, there are 2 that split. Dartford and Gravesham came in with 5. There's no way they'll get 5. They split them as well. If we go for the 4A, which is Medway, then it would be us, Ashford as it stands, plus the southern half of Folkestone, plus most of Maidstone, a bit of Swale, and a little bit, tiny bit of Tunbridge and Malling, which goes up towards Maidstone.
I have to say, sorry, otherwise we could talk about this all week, so I'm not being rude here, but I have to say that from my point of view, having read it through, I'd vote for option 1, keep Kent County Council as it is. I can't see any genuine benefit, financially, administrative, efficient or anything. We've got Kent Fire and Rescue, we've got the police service in Kent about to merge. We don't think it's going to be with Sussex, it's likely to be with Essex. We've got CCAM, which is the emergency service providing ambulance and what have you, but that does go across borders. To then put into a complete reorganisation of core services and then expect the NHS to deliver adult social care, which is the biggest problem at the moment for William Harvey going on special measures twice in 4 weeks because they can't get people out of the hospital. And this is all fiddling around the edges. You won't get that emergency situation at William Harvey solved properly unless people can come out of the hospital. Right? It's not a complicated problem to understand. It's difficult
They
to
won't
fix.
solve that till they solve the problem about adult social care.
Well, exactly.
No government has ever put their hands to it.
But the point I'm making is putting us into one organisation remaining, or into 2 or 3 or 5 or 4 or what have you. No one, in my view, has spelt out the absolutely crystal clear financial efficiency, administrative benefits. The local neighbourhood, I mean, it sounds like something in the Soviet Union in the last century, having the neighbourhood committees. I can't work out who's electing them, how you get on them. Is it someone who gets recommended, etc.? If they don't have a budget, you know...
The people who are on the neighbourhood committee will be elected by the parish council, the same as we elect the people who go to CALC.
Well, yes, we're indexing that. How are you going to... The issue we're going to have is getting people to serve on parish councils, because at the moment the popularity, the interest or the confidence in government in this country is going like that. The younger generations are not interested. I feel we're being drawn towards the iceberg, and we're on the Titanic, and we've got 3 or 4 icebergs. And I can't see any reason I have to say, and I don't often say this, but the reform position, I'm not a reform supporter, and I've said this to one, it's not surprising, but the fact is that changing, and then it's all been delayed. And I think the challenge is that when it comes down to little old us at the parish council level, it's really difficult for us to feel confident that we've actually genuinely understood and represented what the people in our parish want. What's going to be the benefit for them? I mean, if you said to someone down the road and say, do you want to be part of Dover or Tunbridge Wells or Harvard Maidstone, or they look at you and think, you're barking.
Yeah.
And one of our challenges how we actually pull this together so we can have an informed discussion or informed, if they want our input, which option are we supporting? I'm not saying we should all go for option one, but I mean, to have a proper meaningful discussion, I think we have to ask the questions and put forward something that we can talk to our fellow residents and say we've given it due consideration, and it seems to be the general feeling here is that they want this, that and the rest of it, and the best way of getting that is option 3 or 2. I mean, that's it's a real problem, I think.
The point of that you started with, of it all being done as just Kent and abolish the rest. I'm not saying that wouldn't work, but it would fly in the face of every council structure that we've ever had in this country, and all the others that have already been done. None of them are ever of that size.
We've got Kent County Council, which we've had for a long time.
Yeah, sure.
We've got borough councils and district councils.
They're all going, but if you have unitary,
if you have them in that way. But it seems to me they're not all going, because we've now got these local neighbourhood councils popping up.
No, they're not councils.
Well,
they are
who's doing the work of planning?
Planning is left out of it. I told you that.
Yeah. Okay. Who's doing the
they're
work?
Not extra. These local community networks are absolutely not councils. They have absolutely.
What's the point of them?
To give the small council, well, to take a unitary that's got 500,000 people and give it more local emphasis.
Why can't the parish councils do that? Why can't the parish councils do that?
Because we are all tiny. Unless we cluster, if you could say it's like clustering between, instead of us and the 3 others, but we don't really cluster, we decide what happens with the caretaker. We have a cluster where we do the services, but Yvonne and Alf decide what they do.
So we'll be feeding into the local neighbourhood.
This would be a cluster of maybe 30 parishes.
Feeding into a local neighbourhood who have no statutory powers, no budget, and no authority.
No, they've all got individual authority, they've all got individual budgets. They can decide what they'd like from the unitary council. It's up to the unitary council, as I said. This is what we've told, to decide whether they're going to do it. But
can you really, honestly, see...
But they are then bringing in all the other bits.
But can you really see that
I think it's, well, Somerset reckons some of them are. I can't tell you.
I'm sure some of them...
I haven't been there, Paul.
No.
I'm sorry.
But
I am passing on the message now. All I can add to it is that if you organise me to go to this chairman's conference, because the chairman and the deputy are both away, which is next week,
right?
Which is another... I think I can do it, which is another half a day or whatever, a bit more. They are going to concentrate more on this again, and it will possibly give me an opportunity to find out more.
Yeah, no.
We're not going to get the sort of level of detail that we need to make an informed decision, though, are we?
We'll never make it.
And it's
it won't be our decision.
Because I've got this poster that's putting in the notice boards, asking that everybody, not just parish councils, have a say.
Oh yeah, the consultation. Yeah. I'm hoping
that
the thing next week will tell me
understand.
more about these neighbourhood area meetings.
I think Sally's
I don't know how it's going to work.
No, I think Sally's point is really important. As parish councillors, I believe we've got a moral responsibility to help inform, support and guide local people. Right? How can we make an informed decision when we can't get the information to do that? And then, by the way, I'm not criticising for one moment, but you made a very salient point with 2 words, Steve East. I mean, my impression is that whatever happens, the bloke who happens to be in the seat, and heaven knows how we managed to forecast that at the current situation, he goes, she goes, we'll have that.
No, absolutely. That's why I'm saying I'm not so worried about our informed. You see, I think there's a difference between us here, but we both have validity in our own way. I'm not worried about the informed decision, because I think the informed decision is going to be done to us. More, what I'm looking ahead towards is, or trying to convey it to you, is that this is coming down the tracks, and we need to be thinking about how we are going to prepare ourselves for it, and it's going to be very difficult, and I think maybe it will not be our cup of tea as individuals. I don't know.
So if they're not going to take any notice of us, what's the point in taking part in the consultation?
I said earlier more or less that I wasn't sure the consultation did any good, but there have been two subjects here, and maybe I've confused them too much. There's a consultation on the LGR as to which form of geography we want. And the other thing is that the Act is going to say there has to be some kind of local governance arrangement put in place. We don't know exactly what it's going to say in the Act because it's still going through the House of Lords, but there's going to be something. And at the minute we were being told there is going to be flexibility available to the people to decide what they want to do. Now, if this is going to come down the track, we're going to have to think of how the parish council is going to change, whether we're on it or not.
When you say people, do you mean people that are in positions at the moment?
Well,
like
new
parish
ones.
councillors?
Well, us or new ones. I mean, at the minute, there's us 7 plus Yvonne. Now, I've already said to Yvonne that we were being told very firmly by this guy that it would be really essential that parish councils have general power of competence, because they're going to have both the opportunity and the desire and maybe pressure on them to be able to do things that are not within our current powers.
Well, the only way you can make that happen is basically get every parish council to get certified, qualified, sit an exam, a test, or whatever.
No, that's
because
right.
well, you can't establish accepted levels of competence. It's like in the medical profession. You know,
No, this is a technical term, Paul. General power of competence is not the councillors. Councillors are elected, and that's the end of it.
Okay. So they can all be incompetent then?
No, you're reading the words in the dictionary, not what it says in the law. General power of competence relies on 3 things.
Well,
we do not have GPC, but a number do. We can't at the minute. GPC requires 3 things. Firstly, you must have at least, I think it's 2/3, I used to think it was 3/4, but it's at least 2/3 of your councillors must be elected, which can include elected unopposed, which we all are. But you can't have more than 1/3 co-opted, okay?
Yeah.
So we tick that box.
Yep.
Second box, the clerk must be qualified under SILCA. Yvonne is not. She's got effectively, decades of experience, but she doesn't have SILCA and she's never going to do SILCA. That stops us having GPC. I'll come back to that in a minute. And the third thing is the council then formally has to declare itself to have GPC, and then it has got it. As soon as you've got general power of competence, in the legal sense, not what you said, being competent, that's why you have to have a qualified clerk. You can then do anything which an ordinary person can do, provided there is not a specific qualification in the law which says you mustn't. Okay? At the minute, we can only do things which the law specifically says we can. And that is quite restricted. Now, when GPC came in 2011 in the Localism Act, which they realised was something they really had to do, all the big councils, Kent, Ashford, all that lot, they automatically got it, because of course they're full of officers, aren't they?
Yeah.
They all got it. We only had it as an opportunity if we tick those 3 boxes. We didn't used to tick the one on elected, but we do now. We didn't tick, and we still don't, the one on SILCA. Now, what I've suggested to Yvonne is that this is not coming next month, okay? This is years yet. Couple of years probably. I think the aim ought to be that if it comes and we need the point about GPC is that if you have your thingy, we've talked about this LCN, LGN, LCN, and people there say, okay, what we ought to be doing is so and so, so and so, and we're all going to club together and figure out how we're going to do this. We're going to get our computer program sorted, we're going to get our template, we're going to know how we're going to do it, we're going to market it, I don't know what it is. We're all going to go on that, Oh, well, have we got the power to do that? No. But if you've got LCA, if you've got GPC, you can say, okay, we can do it.
So in your cluster, you could have some with it, some without. Interesting, on the Silker qualification, you do have to sit for the qualification, effectively, don't you?
Oh, yes,
it's a sort of a nice
So
school
where
thing.
are they going to get the parish clerks in the future that are all going to be Silker qualified?
There are loads of them.
There it is.
All the younger ones.
Yes.
All the younger ones, yeah, fair enough. I mean,
Yeah, if you look at when there are vacancies, they ask for you to be qualified.
So, but the point of the whole thing is that to make it actually happen, and the other thing, of course, is that I remember Mike Hill, thank you, sitting here saying we really need to be in the vanguard, and he was really enthusiastic about Kent being in the front, and we missed out. And so there is the first tranche which hasn't happened yet.
It's coming along though.
When are the elections going to happen?
The elections,
because the mayor elections are in this country.
The election, if ours goes through,
forget ours. We're not in the front.
No, but I'm talking about ours. If ours goes as planned at the minute, then it will be May 27, which is only a year and a bit. They will be electing the shadow councillors for the new unitaries, and they will become the council in 28.
And when will we get? So you're saying
ours just carry on the same basis.
So you're saying that the shadow councillors for Kent, in whatever of the four options, are going to take place in a year's time.
But they'll only become shadow.
Yeah, shadow.
And a year later they become.
We weren't in the first wave.
The first wave's a year earlier than that.
Have they all now been elected?
No, it'll be this May, I think.
I thought the May elections at the moment are right up in the air. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is not that I'm not kinking you. I'm going to stop the waves coming in, but I do feel very strongly about the relevance of our local community and what we can do. Things will change, and as it will turn out, who knows? No one's going to make a proper prediction. But I think that if we put, I'm not suggesting you shouldn't put the poster up, because that's people's right to look at it. But if people do come and ask us questions, so what do you think, Sue? Should it be option 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe I have 5?
Yeah.
And I think as a parish council, we need to be able to at least show that we've got an understanding and we've got a view, whatever that might be. It might be that we've got a complete split between all four.
Well, I think
how do we pull that together so it's manageable? Because at the moment it seems like topsy.
I think there's a good case in terms of the consultation of us supporting what Ashford have gone for, and which is the Medway case, because it puts us in with southern Folkestone, which is really the whole sort of Romney Marsh club, it's the half of it really, and then otherwise we go sort of north and west. The worst one is the 3. If the government decides to go for 3, that puts us in with Thanet and Dover and Canterbury.
But we don't want to be in with Thanet.
You don't. And
that's
then,
the poor
they're
part.
miles, it's poor Kent. But they are miles away as well. I mean, it's going up from a bit of Folkestone, ourselves, most of Maidstone, and a couple of little corners of Swale and Tunbridge and Moorland, which is at Aylesford. It's relatively close.
They've kind of done this successfully in a funny sort of way already with Medway. Because that was set up as a unitary. That didn't exist geographically. People knew where Medway was, but as a unitary authority, that was set up, and it kind of seems to work.
It was the old Medway town.
Well, they've had their problems.
Yeah, but by and large, but what I'm saying is, so what's worked well in Medway? Why not repeat that or apply? What are the lessons learned? And that's the bit that seems to be missing.
We're going to undo that. Medway is now going to be spatchcocked in with.
Well, exactly. Anyhow, the point I'm trying to make is that just to pull this together before we all fall asleep. I mean, I think we just need to have a think about how we don't end up trying to solve the Gordian knot, because it's never going to happen. We just need to take a view. My own personal view as parish councillor is I'd go for option 1, because I can't see any of the other options that are screaming to me, God, you could save money, you could do this and you could do that, what have you. it's.
Well, you're still going to have these neighbourhood committees that you've turned your back on.
Why?
And they'll be even more important because
who's going to go? Who's going to go to them?
Well, I don't know, Paul.
Yeah,
but Kent's doing everything, including bins and housing and
I agree.
planning and environmental health and all the rest of it. And they don't even answer when you say the drain's blocked. That's not going to work, is it?
Well, I think what you could do, and that has happened in England, where parishes have combined, where you've created larger, and actually you get a very good example with North East Somerset, because there are organisations, the charities actually out of Bristol, what have you, they now recognise that actually these groups of bits of land that they've pulled together to get those economies of scale. I don't know the answer. I was under the impression that part of the whole discussion is significantly upgrading the powers of parish councils and responsibilities. That was the impression.
They haven't put that in there.
Well, that was the impression that the media were giving out, that the little old parish council was having to professionalise.
And I understand the reason why you could reasonably say, well, that's not true, because I said that those things haven't got the powers. By the way, I mean, my immediate reaction, and I will see what happens when I go to this other session, if I raise it and I get a serious answer, is if it's an issue of these LCNs not having power because they're not a committee of the unitary, which could only have councillors voting, and so they don't have the powers, then they've got this blooming act going through Parliament. Why don't they change it and say, these LCNs do have power, they can have a vote and be a legal body and this and that. They're the victim of the old rules and they're trying to change everything.
So where do we go from here as a parish council?
At this moment, I have no idea. I think that one of the things I said to Yvonne earlier, because she's got this thing about the age-friendly bit coming up, and Tenterden asked if we wanted to join in. This was a couple of days ago, and I went straight back and I said, I think we should, because I think we have to start building our relationships with Tenterden, because whatever happens in this neck of the woods, Tenterden will be important. Even with just the same one vote, they will be important and influential. They've got a whole network of clerks and assistant clerks and accountants and God knows what in Tenterden by comparison to us, like Sevenoaks does. And people like Wolvenden and us and Carnarvonton and that. I mean, I wrote at the end here, we used to have Tenterden RDC. That was a proper legal body. It's going to be reinvented in a slightly
Well, the other thing, in the context of age-friendly, we've got one super surgery. So the role that Ivy
You mean super in the sense of large, don't you?
No, I have very high regard over many years of. I know there are one or two people who knock Ivy Court and they go off to Rye and then they end up in Hastings at the Conquest, and good luck to them, because I've never heard a success story coming out of the Conquest, but that's a different story. That's where you've got to go. But I personally think, given that each doctor has 2,000 or 1,500 patients or something, because it's quite a wide area, and I think they do a good job. When you're talking about age friendly, you've got to involve your local GP practice. It doesn't exist one without the other. But anyhow, sorry, I didn't mean for us to have a breakfast meeting.
Else would be involved. But you see, I think that this area will be so big based on the Somerset experience. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same. This was what they did.
Yeah.
But 30,000 people will take us up to, I don't know if it would include Kingsnorth or...
Well, we have this issue every now and then with something called the Boundary Commission in this country, as population comes and goes and boundaries do change. I think what we can safely say, though, if someone says, was listening to this, we've talked about it, we've raised some questions, and we've recognised we've got responsibilities, even if we haven't got the answers. So,
That's about all I can say.
Yeah, thank you.
But I might know a bit more next week.
Well, good luck.
But in a way, we're still sort of...
well, at least we're finding out.
Because we don't know how many unitaries are going to be, and ultimately it'll depend on other people's decisions. Even if we are one of them, there'll be a lot of people involved to decide how these things are going to to be done. But the take home really is that if they go ahead with the unitary, things are really going to change. They may change slowly, they may change frustratingly, but it will not be the same. And really, in a lot of ways, you know, Wittersham Parish Council has been the same for decades, and it's really going to shake it.
No.
I think the key question for people in the village would be, where do I send my planning application?
It'll be the unitary, wherever it is.
And given my experience of the planning, Ashford Borough Council Planning Department, where I'm still trying to chase fees that I've double paid by, the point about it all is the thought of going into an even bigger body.
But you want to go into Kent.
Well, I would suggest that you'd had an umbrella and you could divide up the public services in a way that connected parish councils with making it happen, but you don't try and shoehorn everything into option 3 or option 4. And does the sergeant go to 2 of the unitary authorities? Is it, you know, how do they? I mean, poor old Kent Police get reorganised every. I mean, if he comes back again in the same job, I'll be amazed. Bless him, because they get, you know, reorganised. Anyhow. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
There will be, in Kent's mind, there will be 3 sort of subsidiary committees, but that's all they are.
We haven't discussed the age friendly attended by the clerk, and I feel that's a bit rough on the clerk.
Off you go. I'm all ears.
When are we going to finish the town hall?
It's been going on a while, hasn't it?
I won't go on because you've all seen the slides that passed all.
Yeah, that's really
It
useful.
was very interesting. There were loads of people there from all over the country, and sure enough, Tenterden were there, and she has come back and said, anyone local, so I suggest that I say yes, and then see what she says, and then I can come back to you, and we make it sort of discuss it further. But I did ask whether anybody was keen on coming with me, but I didn't get any response. So.
I'm not able to on those dates. Right? You've got the experience of Tenterden in the voluntary sector in the past, in the centre, you know.
Yeah, but
my
daughter's father-in-law's very
I'm not
involved
go.
with Tenterden, so I don't want to know that.
I'm not suggesting you go, but your input's valuable. Your input's valuable.
To come
your
with
view.
me to, or just should we be involved in going to discuss this with Tenterden, the age-friendly thing, how we can do anything. Until I've gone to her and said, we're interested in coming, I don't know what she comes back with. But it was just a thought instead of just...
I think the message should be that we're interested in being part of the initiative. Because it would be foolish not to.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Yes, so going back to this, what Jeremy's just been talking about, I suggest that when it comes onto the agenda for next month, because we're talking about consultation, that everybody's had a chance to think, and that, as Paul suggested, we go in with what majority of us.
Yeah.
Because if I've got to do it as a parish council.
Right.
We'll leave it to your good self. I got the shot down by Alf by using the phrase ginger up, and he's believing a rocket. I'll still stick with gingering up our absent councillors so that they're fully prepared to give their views at the next meeting.
The thing is that they're both now so busy on doing other things that, because that's what Johnny said, to get to one of our meetings is going to be difficult.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thinking of our chairman, our vice chairman, and Colin to have a view.
Yes.
Tell them we've all agreed that Alan's leading the discussion.